From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Titans made 29 roster moves in order to meet the 53-man roster deadline. Quarterback Logan Woodside, wide receivers Des Fitzpatrick, also Mason Kinsey, defensive lineman Larell Murchison, defensive backs Chris Jackson and Theo Jackson among the notable cuts. More roster moves expected in the coming days. Teams are allowed to sign 16 players to their practice squad beginning today. We are one sleep away from the Vols season opener against Ball State at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee Director of Athletics Danny White joined 3HL yesterday among the numerous topics he discussed. White provided more details on Brew McCoy becoming eligible for the Vols.
I wasn't overly stressed about it, and I don't think Brew was either. We have really bright people that were working hard on it, and we ended up having to go through an NCAA appeal process, and the right decision was made.
Vol Network coverage tomorrow begins at 4 o'clock, kickoff set 4-6. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On here with the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Wednesday edition of Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Game day eve for the Tennessee Volunteers. Yeah. The Tennessee Titans have a 53-man roster, and we are 1 day closer to NFL football in Nissan Stadium. Welcome. Hope it's a wonderful morning so far. Alongside Jonathan Schaefer, our producer, Vol for Life, Ramon Foster. My name is Will Bowling. Cut day providing some surprises, Ramon, as many we thought would be on the team are not, and a couple of guys got their ticket punched that we thought may have been looking for another home today. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's hump day, my guy.
That's right.
It is hump day halfway through. Hey, as you said, it's game day eve.
It feels like a Friday with Tennessee football playing tomorrow.
It really will.
So we're going to come with the Friday energy all day today.
We got to roll today?
We got to.
Let's freaking roll.
Got to.
I'm getting people, man, in public asking me, well, hey, Ramon, you going to the game? And I'm like, oh.
I was that close to doing it.
I was that close even yesterday evening,
really?
Man. Oh, hell yeah. I went home, and the wife was like, you going to the game? I said, what? What are we talking about here? And she was just like, I figured you was going to the game. It's in Tennessee. It's a Thursday. I was like, babe, I was like, let me go ahead and scramble this thing.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Like when you get green lighted like that, I was just like, I was looking out for my health. She's pushing me out of the house. And then I started sitting there. I'm like, I hit up Savage. I was like, hey, what you want to do? He was like, what? This game? He was just as shocked as I was.
Right.
He could actually do it because he's, afternoon crew, spoiled brats.
Easy.
Spoiled brats they are.
That's right.
But I started calculating, Will, the time. And I think you probably
I did the exact, because I had this exact same conversation with my family. And I told my dad, I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I want to still go. Because we'd have plans to go. I mean, we go to every game.
Of course.
And then I did the math of like, okay, so if I'm back by, then I was like, oh, the soonest I'm going to get back is 2 a.m.
That's what I said.
And then waking up at 4:30.
Well, in that case, you just go straight to the studio.
I was going to say, I literally would hop on this couch over here and sleep.
That's what I told kids. I said, at that point, man, I'm going right to the studio at that point. Now, I don't know how I feel about sleeping over there on that black couch.
I mean, you feel a little dirty afterwards.
I feel
that couch is really comfortable, though.
Filthy over there, man.
People hate on that couch too much.
They do, but it's super comfortable. Like,
it is.
I'm going to be real with you. I got this chair and a half in my living room.
Yeah.
Shafe's seen it. Have you sat in it too? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Over there rubbing on Zeus. Yes, you have sat over there,
That
okay?
sounded weird.
Don't act like you aren't impressed, okay? But we have a chair and a half in our house, and it's sitting in the corner of the living room. It's perfectly placed. And my wife and I have debated, Will, for about 2 years. Mom, what are we going to do with that chair?
Yeah.
But it's just like everybody that comes over sits in that chair, man. It's one of those comfortable nap chairs. It's one of those.
It's a nap chair.
But it's like, let me be in the living room, but I can be away. And it's like in a corner where it's just like, man, what do we even replace it with?
So basically, it's like, yeah, I want to be a member of the family, but I don't really want to associate with everybody. I'll
You
sit
can
over here
be
in the
present yet antisocial simultaneously.
and it's like perfectly placed. And I'm like, all I'm gonna go do is go find a different version of it.
That's right.
So let me keep and it's still in good condition. It's in really good condition. But I'm just like, everybody got those either pieces of clothes or just like furniture. Just like I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It'll change. Like if we change it, I probably got to change the entire living room.
Interesting.
I don't know if I'm ready for that. These are adult problems.
Yeah, they really are.
They're
I thought
adult
about
problems.
like if I had done that, I'd probably just go back to my apartment, but I would just
Yeah.
sleep on my couch.
Yeah.
That way, it's easier to wake up in the morning.
So I wouldn't even be fighting you for that one.
No,
over there.
you wouldn't. You'd be all good.
Okay, I would be considering.
You'd be all
That's the
good.
reason I said I didn't want it because I figured you just come here and
No.
sleep on it. You're right down the street though.
That's true. Titans yesterday making their 53-man roster. We'll have lots of takeaways from that. Lots of surprises.
I'm happy for him, but I was shocked too.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that with ESPN's Jeremy Fowler coming up at 8:20 today. And then Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio in hour 4 at 9:20. But we've got 2 hours here at the beginning of the show to check in on the NFL headlines around the league on cut day and then dive in here really in remote in hour 1 to the Titans 53-man roster. What was the biggest surprise to you yesterday?
Biggest surprise to me, probably going to get Dennis Daly. I didn't really expect it. I thought that was a nice move, but not even just that. Across the league yesterday, there was so much moving and shuffling of offensive linemen, veteran offensive linemen, man, that you really got to say to yourself, what's going on in college? Like, there was a lot of offensive line prospects this year, lower round guys that I thought would have made rosters, and they continue to shuffle through guys. I saw somebody yesterday, the Steelers, of course, I'll follow them, is they signed a guy from, I think, Minnesota or somewhere.
Yeah.
And somebody gave an opinion on him that followed the Vikings. It's like, man, veteran guy, been around for a long way, but he's a roadblock. And I'm just like, yeah. Or no, he's a traffic cone.
Oh,
I
goodness.
was like, damn.
Traffic cone.
Shafe, have I ever been called a traffic cone, man?
You've been called a lot of things. Traffic cone is not one of them.
There
you
we
go.
go.
It's a good
Even when
thing.
you're wearing orange, you have not been called a traffic cone.
Will, can you imagine being
Proceed with caution.
a traffic cone? You know how many times people
That's
run?
tough.
I was like, well, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I might go start training again for this OL job, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, dog, I legitimately think if I said, sign me, I might get a couple calls. Not saying that I get signed.
Yeah.
I might get a couple calls, Will.
I mean, that's what everybody's trying to talk Andrew Whitworth back into playing after,
Do you
know,
blame him?
Tyler
True or
Smith got
false?
hurt.
Has Omar Khan with the Steelers reached out to you?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
No. I did get a text from Kevin Colbert yesterday.
Well, Casey's out of the game now, though.
Is he ever out of the game?
Is anyone ever really out of the game?
I mean, Coach Fisher was
Who's to
done
say?
here, but he was never out of the game, right? That was surprising a little bit with Dennis Daly, and I'll be honest with you, Trey Avery.
Undrafted rookie out of Rutgers.
Did we even speak about this?
We did not.
Well,
Beat out Theo Jackson for a spot. That was probably, to me, between that and Julius Chestnut being a fifth running back.
yes.
Those were the two really big surprises to me.
For what?
Good for Julius Chestnut.
5 running backs?
5 running backs.
What? Where are we? I don't know if I've ever seen a roster keep 5, even with a
No.
fullback.
I'm with you. I really am with you. A little bit of a surprise because I don't think it means anything changes for Derrick Henry.
No.
I mean, fifth versus fourth running back doesn't change the carries. People tweeting at us and talking to us asking, does this mean Derrick gets less carries? Absolutely not.
No, absolutely.
There is nothing
not.
that's going to change about the way that guy functions within this offense. But I mean,
Though this show has advocated for him not to get 400 targets.
Yes, we have.
well, that's true.
Yes, we have.
Smart. You do now on the roster that starts the season. And I say that loosely because there are other moves to be made today and tomorrow and the rest of the week leading up to Giants week next week. But you now have 2 runners, Ramon, on the roster that are physical guys who are more comparisons to the way that Derrick Henry runs. I think that's interesting right now for this Titans offense.
Yeah, it is, man. But of course, this is the other thing too. Maybe the playoff game kind of showed something, or made us realize some stuff though too, Will, is look, you can what do they say, skin a cat a million different ways. And that's what I think these other running backs could be. Julius Chestnut, other than the fact that he had the fumble, that's his only blip in preseason. For me personally, for a young guy, that was the one red flag. I'm like, all right, but he never had the issue again. Also special team side of it. I don't think Derek would be running back by committee, but I do think Derek would be in a position like, all right, this game set it out. Like, I don't know if I want to see him like super run heavy or with 35 touches against the Giants.
Up by 21 in the second half.
Do you
you go to Haskins and Chestnut.
You feel me? Because
in mop-up duty, maybe now you have a long reliever.
Yeah.
That's going to come in and eat some innings for you.
Or do you take another approach to where you let Julius Chestnut and the rest of the guys like beat up the other team, like Dontrell Hill, you beat up Hassan Haskins. Hey, y'all go in there and I'm the finisher. Y'all like,
right.
I'll catch you middle of the second quarter. Not that like he's not gonna get his reps, but like you don't get 5, including Torrey Carter. I know he's more special teams and lead block type of stuff.
Sure,
he's not a ball carrier. But just looking at the group that they kept, Julius can run, Hassan can run, Dontrell can run also. So if that's the point to be made, Will, then it has to be a different approach. Like we've heard for sure what Shafe and Will, like they're gonna run him, Derek. That is,
yeah.
And that ain't good, I don't think, for this team or for him either. If you want the legend of Derek to continue, because again, we're at a point where Taylor's the oldest tenured guy, and probably right behind him is Byard or Derek.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this is you got to start making different changes to make it throughout the NFL season.
I think the Chestnut move might be as simple as they trust him as a defender on special teams more than they trusted a few of those defensive backs, more than Theo Jackson at this point. And they probably feel better about pushing Theo Jackson, perhaps some more of those defensive backs, to the practice squad than they do stashing Julius Chestnut.
Yeah.
Julius Chestnut, 26 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown this preseason. Had praise from Mike Vrabel all through the offseason and through the summer. I do think there is a very valid argument to be made that the Titans don't go into the New York Giants in week 1 with 5 running backs. That in order to pick up an extra tight end with only 3 on the 53, another thing that we missed. And in order to, or I missed, you got that one right. Or in order to get an extra wide receiver, bring in a 6th guy, perhaps one of those running backs is the one that is pushed to the practice squad because of it.
Could be.
But as you know, that's far from a final 53. That's not the 53 that's going to go into week 1 against the New York Giants.
Probably not. Another guy, 2 more. I didn't have them on my list. Did you have Kevin Strong or Deshaun Hand?
I had neither of them.
Neither did I.
I thought Deshaun Hand was pretty good in preseason, but I've got an opinion about defensive line that I'm going to give you when we come back about why I think the Titans carried an extra defensive lineman based on a move they might have to make over these next couple of days. We'll do that coming up next. Jeremy Fowler at 8:20, Rhett Bryan at 9:20, Tennessee Football Eve. The vibes are good. On this Wednesday. We'll keep them rolling, talk some Titans roster when we come back. It is Ramon and Will, powered by All 4 Seasons on 104.5 The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro prepare for anything. Like when that relief valve on your water heater fails, pouring gallons of water into your finished basement. Or an electrical shortage in your office that causes extensive smoke, fire, and water damage. Or simply a musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's when you contact ServPro. They have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drying all the way to complete structure rebuilds. ServPro is the call to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So call the official ServPro of downtown Nashville operators at 800-ServPro to see how they can help you get back to like it never even happened. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction, franchise and independently owned and operated.
It's Ramona Will, powered by all four seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday morning. Sun is up a little early today.
It is, and so is your attitude this morning.
You are absolutely right. I told Schaefer when I walked in, the one of our country stations in the building plays music downstairs when you walk in. And I kid you not, I heard the Applebee's song by Walker Hayes, and it put me in a horrible mood. Not a horrible mood. It just made me more prepared to be like, what are we doing today? What are we doing today?
The song itself is fine.
No.
There's nothing wrong with the song.
No. Psychopathic behavior defending that song.
Hey, y'all.
There's nothing wrong with the song.
It's terrible.
It's
literally horrible.
Don't let Will
And I like
Bowling
country music.
Don't let the kid face fool y'all, man. Don't let baby face fool y'all, because this guy is a savage on break, man. I'm like, who is this individual, man?
Look, I've been hanging out with y'all enough now. You told me after 2 weeks of doing this show that I would hit a wall of exhaustion. That happened, and I feel like you're digging deeper in the well. You're finding some dirt as you dig deeper. You're finding a little bit of grime.
Go ahead and hit it for me
down
real
there
quick.
I didn't even know existed.
Go ahead and do it, because you do it as well as anybody, man. We're going to get back into sports talk, but please do this. You do it so well. I was born in it. Go ahead.
You really adopted the darkness. I was born in it. All right, that was 6:23:06, Schaefer, if we want to cut that later.
I've got a bunch from yesterday, too.
Put that right up with, how does that compare to my Charles Davis impression?
That one is way better. I love the Bane way
I think
better.
one of these days I'm going to call a football game. It's going to be Bane and Charles Davis are going to be calling a football game together.
You are.
I don't know, but Bane might not be accepted back in a broadcast booth after what he did to Heinz Field in Dark Knight Rises.
No longer. He was ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's true.
No longer Heinz.
He was trying to get rid of the name.
He was trying to get rid of
What's the new name of the stadium again?
Acrisure.
Are you sure? Are they really sure?
I'll tell you what, they're like
I'm unsure that should be a name of a football
they're
stadium.
like a $70 billion company. They might be all right. I think.
Oh my God, I love that guy. There you go.
That was you?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh my God, I love that guy.
Is that not you? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yesterday.
I listened to the clips. I thought it was Will.
I was working out yesterday, and Schaefer sent all these cuts of these are 1 second reactions we had to things, and I'm just dying laughing, just sitting there, just
so
like on a workout bench. Yeah, there you go.
Hit him with the. This is where Will was. Hit him with the BMAC real quick. I just want to punch somebody in the face for the heck.
Oh, give me 1 second for that.
That was good. I was bored.
It's incredible how quick he is with these.
I don't mind kicking you in the mouth for no reason.
Yeah,
That's you this morning.
that's true.
That's you this
Honestly,
morning.
what we need too from Friday was Mike Keith's going, when in doubt, just hit somebody really hard. Was that what he said? I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something of just like, when in doubt, just go, just hit somebody.
We want to fight.
We want to fight.
That's right.
You adopted the darkness.
I was born in it. It's a great movie.
All right.
615-737-1045 if you want to react to the Titans 53-man roster this morning. Here you go.
Will say.
When in doubt, knock the crap out of somebody was the Mike Keith quote on Friday.
Ramon's treating Will like a CNC.
No, man, it's just this level of violence from the young bull is nice. Like, you're no longer the young calf anymore, okay?
The young calf.
Will is the young bull
I
out here.
did enough calf raises. The calf is growing a little bit.
Yeah, you hit the gym yesterday too.
I did.
Got right.
I learned yesterday too, just before we get back to the roster,
before
analysis.
Charles get mad, man.
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Different Charles.
No, different Charles. Charles is you guys better talk sports guy. We'll get to that real quick.
Anyway, no, I realized yesterday I was like super tired, and it was one of those days of just like, you know what, like I've just got to like go like walk to the gym and just like not think about it and just like trust that I'm gonna have energy like once I get there.
Yes, sir.
Was able to sustain me through the day. It's kind of nice.
That's what's up, man.
You go work out and you get a little more energy. Like, okay,
You do that burn is worth it, man. I went this morning. You asked me, Ron, how you go that
I don't know
early?
how you do that.
If I don't, then I'll trick myself into, like you said, like
I get that.
I'm gonna go,
but we have time.
but
You got more stuff to do.
I got more stuff to do after work.
like Tom Brady today
I told
saying,
somebody,
Who's
there's
this
bleep to do.
we have time? I don't know who this we is that we're talking
who the
about.
hell is we, man?
I mean, that's what you got more time than if it was you were in the middle of the day or
no,
Not
afternoon.
really.
I was telling my buddy, he is my buddy. Brady Hart, he's over like the suites and stuff at UT, a ticket guy. Shout out to our guy, man. People always hit me up, they're like, "Mo, you know what I'm saying? What's the hookup? Like, you got something?"
Well, you have a double standard of that because you're a alumnus.
Yeah.
So people are like, "Oh, like you played there, you can get me tickets," and then you're also in media now.
Yeah, I know.
So it like multiplies if like everybody's like, "You gotta need them tickets."
Yeah, for real. Yeah, scratching of the chin and neck like it's a fiend. But I was like, man, I might have to change my number, and I don't mind that type of stuff at all because if it's a no, it's
trying
a
to be
no.
your friend.
But I'm also a person that's hard to say no to. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta govern myself with just a lot of, like you said, that time stuff, man.
Yeah,
I'm a natural people pleaser.
Yeah, me
so
too.
that can run me into the ground sometimes.
I have literally said this phrase to Ramon. Hey, you need to be more of a prick.
Yes. He told me that.
What do you think you've
man.
been saying to me for the last 3 years that you've known me while I worked here?
Yeah.
What do you
I
think?
told you to be less of one.
I have no that. Okay, that is.
Yeah.
I call foul on that.
That's not true.
I call
foul on that.
Well, hey, we're gonna build up this rhinoceros skin as Coach Mack said.
Rhinoceros skin.
He said you got to have rhino skin, man. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, birds just on the back of rhinos, they just pecking. They don't feel a thing. I was like, never even put that
You
together,
could fill
Coach
a book
Mack.
with Coach Dave McGinnis sayings.
100%.
Fantastic.
100%, man. But yeah.
So on this Titans roster yesterday, I think there's one move that I think I expect to happen given the amount of defensive linemen that make the team.
Yeah.
So this was, I think, the unit that had the biggest number of the biggest number of players on it that we didn't really expect, other than running back.
Yeah.
7 guys make the team. Simmons, Autry, Tart, Jones, Walker, we knew. And then Kevin Strong and Deshaun Hand make it.
Mm-hmm.
Larrell Murchison, former late-round pick for the Titans in 2020, does not make it. I think this means that you might expect a move for Danico Autry to injured reserve.
Who?
Danico Autry.
You think he might go into
I think
it?
if you're carrying 7 defensive linemen, you're worried in some capacity. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if it means he's going to miss 4 games and you go on IR. Perhaps it's a week 1 problem. Maybe it's week 1 or 2. I don't know. But I think there might be some concern reading between the lines there about Danico Autry and his status.
Yeah.
Just simply
That's
because they're
interesting.
carrying probably 1 more defensive lineman, maybe even 2 more defensive linemen than we expected.
I was shocked by it. I will say that, man, because 7 defensive linemen, specifically them, like, of course, my background, I've been on the team where, like, outside linebackers come in like droves. Like, you're keeping as many as you possibly can. Right. I've never known anybody to take that many defensive linemen. Remember, yesterday I said, look, no. We'll take, how many did I have yesterday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 yesterday.
I had 5 too.
I had 5 of those. And I'm just thinking, well, they'll supplement Rashad Weaver on the inside of this rush plan that they have for him and stuff like that. That's where I was, right?
Sure.
And for them to keep Kevin Strong, who we didn't cover a whole lot, one says they see a lot of that P word in him potential that we didn't see. Maybe he's doing something in practice on a smaller scale that they realize can really help out. And Deshaun Hand, we spoke about him, but it wasn't necessarily like a given that he was going to make the roster. Not over Larrell Murchison either. I didn't see that being the fact that he was a homegrown guy. You brought up yesterday the 2020 class, and we'll get to that also as Larrell Murchison is out because he's 2020 class too. But if you expect anything from Danico Autry as far as age and health, where are we at with him right now? I know he didn't do a whole lot this preseason, but were the reports strong about him missing time, or it's just the fact that he's an older guy and we expect somebody to go out at some point, and it's good to have some good quality along that line?
I mean, obviously a lot of quality between him and Jeffrey Simmons when both of those guys are healthy at the same time.
That's good.
He just hasn't been healthy through camp. Hasn't been there. Really missed all of training camp. Honestly. So I think there's probably a little bit of concern for me at that position because of that. Granted, I think the Titans are very deep there. I think DeMarcus Walker has really given them some added depth there of a guy that can rush the passer from inside at that position. I think if there's one guy who might benefit from perhaps a roster spot coming open on the defensive side of the ball, I think David Aneni. David Aneni is a guy we both had making the team.
I did.
He does not end up making it. And Ramon, I say that because if Danico Autry is not available for the Titans at least week 1, week 2, or has to go on injured reserve and can't be there for the first 4 games, the Titans do use him quite a bit as an edge.
Yeah.
He gives you a lot of snaps at that position. So it would make sense to carry that extra defensive lineman now.
Yeah.
Have then 6 guys who are available, which is still 1 more than we expected.
Yes, it is.
And then you added an edge rusher to supplement that and say these 10, 15 snaps that Danico Autry is going to play as an edge on 3rd down. We supplement that with Rashad Weaver, David Aneni, and having extra in that edge rusher room. I think you could very well see the Titans go down that path.
Another questionable thing for me too, Will, it's the 2 positions that got bonuses yesterday, the running backs and the defensive line, okay?
Yep.
That makes me question what's the plan for the year too. Okay, like as far as the way the NFL rolls, is this what? It's through the air, it's fastball, it's, hey, let's spread guys out and go far with them. Like, with this amount of defensive linemen specifically, and most of the time, they do not play special teams. They're not running down on kickoff coverage. They're not on punt protection or anything like that.
Sure.
So you got to say, well, what's the plan that Shane Bowen has for this group? Are they going to be more of a, hey, we're going to rotate guys in and out throughout the year? Is this the effects also of the 17th game or the 17th game?
Right.
As far as overall health, spelling guys like Jeff, like, do we trust these guys behind Jeff and Danico and Tierre and Naquan, who we know have been proven? Of course, as far as what's his name go, golly, I'm short on his name. DeMarcus Walker, we know about him.
Yeah,
we know of Deshaun Hammond. I couldn't tell you a whole lot about Kevin Strong, and that also goes to who's going to be taken away as far as game day actives too. Because if we got 7 on roster, let's say Danico goes to IR, if something happens for a little while, then you got a guy. Do you still keep 6 active? Running backs, are all 5 of them active on game day? I feel like Torrey is because of special teams.
Yeah.
It's
and there's a lot of sets they have that are I formation that are 2-back sets where he's going to be a lead blocker for Derek.
It's questionable to me. Maybe it's something now Vrabel has to get us injury reports.
Well, especially not with 3 tight ends.
Yeah. Because
the alternative to not carrying a fullback on your active roster is having a 4th or 5th tight end.
Yeah.
Titans have 3 tight ends. I think at this point, as much as it kind of is probably unfortunate to say this about a guy in Julius Chestnut who just made the team, is a terrific story. And it's not to diminish what he's been able to do in making this team. Out of Sacred Heart, undrafted guy, a guy that we were not talking about at all coming really into camp, who had gotten praise from the coaching staff and is just a really, really good guy. I think if you're looking at one guy on that offense that might be cut at the expense of finding a 4th tight end or a 6th wide receiver or even a 5th wide receiver, if you've got injury issues, at Terry McCormick, reporting that Racey McMath has a hip injury and might need a stint on an IR going into the season. I think if you're going to add a piece on offense, that's the guy that you look at as the surprise that made the offense. And the 4th tight end to me, I think, is still something this Titans offense is going to need to have.
Is this, a stashing of extra players as far as his running back and D-line go, will also the effect of a bigger practice squad? Like these guys will get picked up?
I mean, I think there's more salary cap chess to be played with more pieces that you can put on your practice squad.
Yeah, even veterans.
Right.
That's probably where we're at. Like that just dawned on me. Like you can get 16 and teams will stash and they can protect the few too. This changes the way roster management goes, man.
It does.
It really does. And this is the other thing too, with some of these vets that they chose to keep, like after September 10th at 3 o'clock Central.
Yep.
Those guys' salaries are guaranteed. If they're vested.
That's right.
So if those moves are gonna be made, is it a young guy like Julius Chestnut? I don't know why I want to call him the eater, man.
The eater?
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. I don't know why I want to do that.
The greatest athlete of our generation.
It's jaws of steel. Okay,
that's right.
But a young guy like him can be cut and stashed on
Right.
the act. I mean, on practice squad after the fact because his salary's not guaranteed because he's not vested.
Some interesting moves around the NFL as well, and I think the Titans will specifically have some options at the wide receiver position. We mentioned O.J. Howard yesterday, cut by the Buffalo Bills at tight end. They're going to have to pay upwards of $3 million of his salary this season based on the deal that he got in the offseason, similar to what the Titans got in order to get Austin Hooper.
Cool thing with him is if he clears waivers, that salary is guaranteed from them, and he also gets to double dip.
Right.
I mean, if a team signs him after the fact. I did see somebody make a point about him. If you got a guy that can't make he can't make the team on Super Bowl contending teams, that's probably meaning he's not a big contributor to your team.
Sure.
Tampa got rid of him. Buffalo got rid of him, and they're contenders this year too. So for the people who are, hey, go sign him, we got to start side eye in this situation.
And that's a guy that's got under 200 yards in each of the last 2 seasons. Only played 4 games 2 years ago after a ruptured Achilles in 2020. And then 21 just wasn't really the same guy playing behind Rob Gronkowski and Cameron Brate in Tampa Bay. Just didn't really have the same athleticism and speed and quickness after the Achilles injury, which you hate.
Yeah.
That's a tough injury to come back from.
Yeah, it is.
Especially as a big dude.
Yeah, I never wanted that one.
Ooh.
ACL is one thing, but that Achilles, every move you make, you're like, it's no support around.
That's the injury. I didn't tear it, but that's the injury that I had the last 3 years that I was an athlete.
There's no support. Think about it.
Heck, I've got it right now. It's hurting me again right now.
What's crazy about that Achilles? I saw a kid in practice from Hawaii. It's University of Hawaii, actually, from the island also, man. And lucky, remember we were speaking about that, like, hey, injuries help you make the team or get paid. We were in a walkthrough like the last week of the 4-game preseason, Will, and we're doing some warm-ups, man, and he's literally just about to take off like a sprinter stance, giving us a look on defense.
Yep.
He's an offensive lineman. He takes a step, fall to the ground.
Oh.
He looks up like, hey, what? He looked back behind him because there was some young guys behind him. He was like, which one of y'all kicked me? Everybody's looking like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Achilles snapped.
It's crazy, man.
Just like that.
It's a bad one.
Oh my gosh! Oh man, and at that point, you should have saw all the veteran guys at the time. Like we were stretching our heels and calves and everything. Because this was a young guy. He's like 21 years old.
It's such a fragile little ligament. Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah,
the worst. 615-737-1045. What surprised you the most about who was either cut or added to the roster by the Tennessee Titans yesterday? And we come back, we take a look around the league, and I want to look specifically at the former Titans who are now cut adrift, who could be fits to come back to Tennessee based on the moves that John Robinson made yesterday. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone.
Summer's over, but that joint pain is still there. It's time to do something about it. And it's Ramon Foster. I want you to call QC Kinetics now. You put it off long enough, and it's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees and back and shoulder and hips, okay? QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatment with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Gosh, I hate that knife too, okay? Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they are living life to the fullest, pain-free. Don't assume the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Call QC Kinetics. Stop putting it off, okay? Call now for a free consultation at 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. And one more time for the people in the back, 615-249-4024.
Cut day in the NFL. It is Ramon and Will, powered by all four seasons, as we react to many of the moves made yesterday, but also where some guys are headed today. Stay tuned with us until 10 o'clock. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer with you. Tennessee Titans, the surprising moves that they made yesterday, the running back position, defensive line, we mentioned both of those.
Yeah, we did.
And Ian Rappaport reporting this morning that the Bengals are hosting free agent tight end O.J. Howard on a visit today, and says assuming all goes well with his physical, is expected to sign there. A little bit of a surprise.
It's a little bit of a surprise. They lost their Uzama to free agency.
He's in New York
offseason. Yes,
New York Football Jets.
And of course, everybody's always looking for the guy. Most teams have a type, right? You know, and O.J. Howard is fitting that type for them. Again, the Achilles is scary, but it's Cincinnati. They always do stuff like this. It's my morning crap on the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's right.
Sorry, Danny.
6:47 a.m.
Not
was
really.
the first Cincinnati Bengals slander from Ramon Foster.
More to come.
Here's the thing. You're crapping on them. They didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, they existed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fair enough. Okay.
They put chili on spaghetti that's not very good, so
Man,
they deserve it.
Quit bitching. And just pow, like the cheddar cheese.
I tell you what, when I went to Titans Bengals in 2020, they trash talked us wearing Titans colors in that building like they'd won something of significance. And obviously they have now. But at that point in 2020, they had 2 wins, and I think the last 16 games at that point. And a guy looked at me, I kid you not, I looked this guy dead in the eyes. A guy looked at me at one point and was like trash talking me in the fourth quarter, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, you're from Ohio," and I didn't say anything else. No disrespect to the great people from Ohio. There are probably great people from
My wife and family went up for
some.
that playoff game, like for a game or two in Cincinnati. We had the huge debacle. Like my uncle and them had to surround like my wife and them as they were walking out. And like my brother Renardo lives in Louisville.
Yeah.
And of course I got him tickets to the game because that's big bro, okay?
Right.
But he also has 2 friends of his that are twins who are also Bengals fans.
Oh, okay.
And I got them tickets. So they're going with my bro to the game, man. And afterwards he would come see me in the family spot afterwards, man, and they just kept calling and calling and calling him. He thought they were about to leave him because they were so mad about losing to us when they were for sure gonna win against us. Will, like, Bengals fans have been longing for like relevance for a very long time.
We would walk by like a sports bar going back to our car. And the area around that stadium is awesome.
It's cool.
Really, really cool. Great American Ballpark is right there too.
For Cincinnati.
And people would boo us like as we walked by. And I wanted to be like I've been to Tennessee, Alabama games, and
this is light work.
they were nicer people than that. I'm serious. No, like there was like at least a respect among like them of like, oh, we know how to win.
Let me just do it straight with you. There ain't nothing I left in Ohio that I'm willing to go back and get.
No.
All right?
No.
Let's just be real about this.
But they got a damn good quarterback, though.
That's right.
And they paid a lot of money for that OL. I want to see how that looks this year.
Some former Titans who hit the waiver wire yesterday.
Ooh.
It feels like, and I say this disrespectfully, it feels like it's inevitable that Cameron Batson is back on the Tennessee Titans practice squad.
I'm disrespectful.
I think the Titans are at times too loyal to the guys who are fringe roster guys and bringing them back to the practice squad. I think if I have a criticism of the front office, it's that they might overemphasize familiarity and loyalty to some of those guys versus just talent level.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I feel like the Falcons and the Titans are just about to switch.
Swap players.
Just about to swap fringe roster
tight ends
guys.
got cut yesterday.
Anthony Ferkser was cut by the Falcons as well.
And Michael Pruitt.
I liked
Michael Pruitt.
Now, Michael Pruitt,
see?
Now, Michael Pruitt, I'm okay with bringing back.
See?
I'm actually serious about that
I
one.
am too.
Because when you're talking about a fourth tight end, what are you really asking from a fourth tight end?
Athletically, too?
Oh, you know what I'm going to say next? It's going to make you go apoplectic.
Uh-oh.
Bring back Dennis Kelly.
Now, that one I'm actually okay with, too.
Well, I mean, this roster's not set in stone yet.
I feel like Buck Rising is the one that's going to really, be annoyed by things like that.
By Dennis.
Then again, Buck just wakes up on a general annoyance level.
Well, he goes to work out early in the morning, too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why. By the time he comes in, the lifting high is low. Like, he's back to normal.
He's come back down to earth.
Yeah, he's come back down to earth. Getting that old thing back as far as, it's what you know at those positions, too.
Sure.
You know, like we're looking at Jamarco Jones, and what do we kind of say about this, Will, of him being a rotational tackle? Like, I know him, but I'm not sure what it looks like.
We didn't see anything great from him at camp.
But with Dennis Kelly, you've had good moments.
That's right.
He's been a pro for a while. So it lends you to say this is all right.
615-737-1045 is the number. Greg leads us off on the phone lines this morning. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Greg.
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Here's the thing that's really blowing my mind this morning. Why did they keep Chestnut when they have Triple H? They got Henry, Hilliard, and Haskins. So there's only three possibilities. It's either that they were really blown away by Haskins, they really didn't like anyone else that they had to cut. They weren't, they didn't feel any need to keep them, or, and I hope this isn't the case, Henry's more banged up than we think. So I want to get your opinion on that.
Thank you, Greg. I don't think this has anything to do with Henry's status.
Yeah, Derek, I think, has been fine.
I think it is a fluid roster spot that at the moment they wanted to reward a guy who exceeded their expectations and worked hard to earn it. At this point, who also, and it's not just about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I think that makes sense.
Sentimental way to look at it, and that's how the Titans would tell you it is. That's what Mike Vrabel would tell you. Now, I think again, like I said, kind of earlier this morning, if you missed it, that I think the Titans trust him as a defender on special teams enough, to where he's going to function kind of as a safety in terms of what he's going to do for you on special teams. Him and Haskins both, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think he makes it to week one, because you need a wide receiver and you need a tight end.
How many? And see, this is the other point about Julius Chestnut. We're coming up on the hour. Is at his position, how many reps do you expect him to get? So it may have
5
on the year.
Maybe.
I'm just saying in general.
Yeah,
I don't give him 5 per week.
Right.
I'm putting Haskins in. My game day actives are Derek, Hilliard, and Haskins with Torrey Carter. Julius don't fit into that mold for me right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the one that, Moan, go check yourself. You're just completely wrong. But I with Greg bringing that up, it's almost as if it was like the draft. What's best available?
And
was it Julius?
I think you could make the argument that Dontrell Hilliard functions as much as a wide receiver at this point as he does a running back.
Yeah.
So maybe you do really kind of have a pair of running backs, and for the time being, without Des Fitzpatrick, who we haven't talked about yet this morning, Dontrell Hilliard is as much a slot receiver in those 5 wide empty sets as much as he is a running back.
Yes.
And a pass protector.
Yep.
And I think they like Chestnut as a pass protector too.
Yep.
Chestnut and Haskins both, I think, have been serviceable doing that. And Haskins hasn't really blown me away in what he's able to do on the ground in preseason.
Really? No.
I think he's been good. I think he's been quick, but haven't been. If you showed me tape of Julius Chestnut and Hassan Haskins from preseason, and said which one is undrafted and which one got drafted without knowing which one was which, would you be able to tell a difference?
This is the other side of it too. Julius Chestnut got the go-ahead start with a better OL to start this thing off. That's right. Too. He did do that.
It's not a knock on Haskins.
No.
It's
I'm just saying in general.
Haven't been totally blown away.
I'm willing to bet on Haskins before I do Chestnut, and I love undrafted guys, and I love the fact that he made this team so far too. So I'm not opposed. I do question it.
615-737-1045. We'll get to Cuzzo Mike when we come back. Plus more veterans visiting NFL teams. One running back who was cut by an AFC team that SEC fans will know very well, who might have found a new home, according to a breaking report from Ian Rappaport. We'll do that coming up next. Reset the Titans headlines, much more when we come back on Tennessee Football Eve. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 7:03. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Titans made 29 roster moves in order to meet the 53-man roster deadline yesterday. Quarterback Logan Woodside, wide receivers Des Fitzpatrick, also Mason Kinsey, defensive lineman Larrell Murchison, and defensive backs Chris Jackson, Theo Jackson, and Greg Maben among the notable cuts. More roster moves expected in the coming days. Teams are allowed to sign 16 players to the practice squad beginning today. Just one sleep away from the Vols season opener against Ball State at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee Director of Athletics Danny White joined 3HO yesterday. Among the numerous topics he discussed, White provided more details on Brew McCoy becoming eligible for the Vols.
I wasn't overly stressed about it, and I don't think Brew was either. We have really bright people that were working hard on it, and we ended up having to go through an NCAA appeal process, and the right decision was made.
Vol Network coverage tomorrow begins at 4 o'clock. Kickoff set for 6. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your Over the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 of the show, Tennessee Titans making 29 roster moves, and we have got plenty of time to discuss it all. Jeremy Fowler coming up in hour number 3. Rhett Bryan at 9:20. The phone number is 615-737-1045 as free agent visits begin all around the league as those transactions continue before week 1 in just a couple of weeks. Along with Ramon Foster, my name is Will Bowling. Jonathan Schaefer making the show happen.
The best producer in the world.
Depends on the day. Ian Rappaport, NFL.com. Yeah, that's right. NFL.com this morning saying free agent running back Sony Michel flying to Los Angeles for a meeting with the Chargers.
By the way, your best producer made sure you had that information.
Hey, nah.
No, I retweeted it before you sent it to me, actually. So sorry about that.
Look at them doing work.
I really wish I knew
Will,
it.
don't take that,
I
Will.
really wish I knew what I was talking about.
Don't take it, Will.
Dave McGinnis, Will Bowling, 2022.
Damn right.
Look, I know how to scroll a Twitter timeline.
Yeah. Don't you
I
dare
don't know how
let
to do
shade.
much, but I know how to do that.
Find God.
Don't let him dog you out like that, Will. You right, man. Stand up for yourself. I'm here for you.
So Sony Michel flying to Los Angeles where he played for the Rams.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Cut
saying.
by
That
the
shit.
Miami Dolphins. You only make Mike McDaniel's team in Miami if you run sub 4.4.
Dang. Yeah, they got a lot of speed down there,
A lot of quick
man.
dudes.
A lot of speed down there. Sony Michel, this has he actually fallen? You know, like Todd Gurley? Like, once you go to the Rams is when you fall off? Is that what it is?
Well, the Rams value running back so much within the West Coast offense and the style of play that Sean McVay wants to run.
Yeah.
That if they cut you adrift, it's either they got somebody else better and younger. Cam Akers was that guy, despite his injury troubles. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth to that.
Speaking of Miami, too, of course, Lamar's negotiating for himself. And of course, he has that clause that he wants this deal done before the season or don't talk to me at all. Well, apparently, of course, what do people do on Twitter? They search a profile for almost anything, right? He was found liking a picture with him in a Miami Dolphins jersey. I don't know if this negotiation tactics or whatever, but he's also flirting with the Dolphins. So if you say they like sub 4.4 guys, then that fits right in that mold for next year then.
Aren't you very glad we no longer have to do radio shows about tweets?
Yeah.
Since A.J. Brown is no longer here.
I know. That'd be very
spending hours at a time
right
of
now.
summer radio shows based on what A.J. Brown tweets meant.
A.J. Brown tweets, man.
Don't have to do that anymore.
Well, you get him later in the season. We get him later in the season this year,
That's
don't
right.
we? It'd be interesting to see where he is health-wise. And I say that
Absolutely.
not tongue-in-cheek, just legitimately, like, will he get to that point? He looks good, though. I will say that. I'm hoping Traylon Burks look better for our sake.
Yesterday was the beginning of something for me.
Oh.
Day one of fall to me. It's the beginning of pumpkin coffee at Starbucks yesterday.
I knew it.
And so what I did was I walked to my local neighborhood Starbucks in 85-degree weather, and I put on a hoodie.
Yeah.
and to go get, coffee.
No, you did.
And I did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it feel like it's fall.
Did you also?
And then I walked back and I was sweating so much, I immediately just threw it to the side. I was like, okay, this is stupid. This is really dumb.
You also put on Ugg.
It was
boots?
good. I don't regret it at all. No, I don't do Uggs.
I do Uggs. I'll be honest with you.
I was going to tell you, there's no shame.
The boots kind of. I
It's
don't
a
do
safe
like
space.
the pullover kind,
Not
like
really.
the ones you pull up, like the ones that females wear.
Yeah, right.
One of the most respected men I ever met in my life, Troy Polamalu, though. He
A
used to
big
wear-
Uggs guy?
He used to wear the ones you pull up, like the Ugg joints or whatever, like the female kind, like
Yeah.
the PSL girls, you
Right.
know?
Look, to me, I love fall so much because I love football so much.
Yeah.
So any way that I can accelerate the process of being cold and watching football,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
It's going to get done.
That's the only reason why I love these things so much.
All right. I'm with
By the
you.
way, Troy Polamalu can wear whatever he wants.
You damn right he
He's
can.
Troy Polamalu.
You know what?
I mean, let's be real about
Tom
that.
Brady as well, big Uggs
Tom
guy.
Brady, like whatever
Yeah.
Troy wanted to do. Yeah. Yes, sir. That's all you said.
right.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
But you had your first PSL yesterday.
It was on PSL. It was just like an iced coffee with like a little bit of pumpkin in it. It wasn't even like the pumpkin spice latte. I don't really do those as much.
You and every social media influencer yesterday.
It was good.
It was solid.
Don't even regret it. Not even a little bit.
Stand by what you do, Will.
615-737-1045. Let's go to Cuzzo Mike
Michael.
in Cleveland. Good morning, Mike.
What's up? Raymond and William? How y'all doing?
How are you?
How's y'all doing?
We good, man.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, you know what? I was calling. I was gonna keep it professional, but then y'all just started, dissing, going hard on Ohio, and I mean for good reason, But I just wanna. I just want to say there is some good things about, Ohio. I'm going to say Cleveland. I can't say Ohio.
Okay.
I'm going to say Cleveland. I'm going to just rattle off three real quick. One, I'm there. That's the best one because I live there.
Open your job interview.
Two, you said what?
I said
Say it again?
that's helpful in your job interview process.
It is.
Yeah, I know it is. I know. That means I will be late. I can only come certain days, not every day. I know that's a great qualification. But two, as far as Cleveland go, certain parts of it, you can buy a house on the street, and you're the only house on that street. It might take you a couple thousand to, get the house livable, but hey, you're the only house on that street. Three, the best one for me is anything dealing with legal issues. If you got the right kind of money, you can get out of it. So, I mean, hey, man.
Is this about Deshaun?
Hey, Cleveland. Yeah, this is all about the side. That's all about the side.
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
Oh,
So,
my.
I'm just saying, Cleveland is, hey, there's some winners. There's some good things.
It
As far as
is.
them Titans go, real question about Dennis Kelly. What y'all think his chances is with coming back? Because I think that really would add to it. Me and some of the fellas, cousin Brian, Scooby, we was talking and we was saying how, we ain't feeling too confident on ratings. So if Kelly came back, that would be a plus. Also, I feel like this is the most complete. The Titans have been coming out of the preseason, going into the regular season.
Yeah.
We know where each position is offering. We know where people are bringing. We know, down to the backup. I feel like the Titans are really just a complete playoff team that's really finally it's not a up in the air. They could do what they did 2 years ago, or they could fall off. It's like, no, we there.
Mm-hmm.
We playoffs. We are the standard finally. So, if y'all could touch on them things and quit dogging, my new home so much, I appreciate it. Okay, deuces.
Thank you, Mike.
Also, Cleveland is one of the main cities that have most exotic car dealerships there too.
Really?
Yes, they have they're like a gateway to a bunch of exotic car dealerships like Lamborghini, Ferrari, Rolls. It's weird, a cold place like Cleveland, but I think it's
Good to know.
because of the what is it? Don't they have ports there or whatever, the shipping and whatnot? They're like
I've never been to Cleveland
mid gateway. You're not missing much. The only time I had in Cleveland was miserable. It
Yeah,
was cold.
Cleveland's a gateway to a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of gateways
Sure.
there.
I think Dennis Kelly, I would be surprised if he's back.
Yeah.
32 years old at this point. He's played 11 years. I don't know. I feel like you just traded for a Dennis Kelly and Dennis Daly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Eric Reed just said in the zone chat. We just traded for version 2.0 of Dennis Kelly.
Yeah, and Daly can play guard as well.
Yeah, he can.
So you have a little bit more insurance. If I'm picking between the two, Daly is younger, he's cheap,
Yeah.
and you just gave up a little bit of capital for him. Really not anything that's substantial enough to make you kind of keep him.
Dennis
But
Kelly is insurance. You got to look at this situation, too. He's been back up for the most part since he left the Titans last year with Green Bay. Didn't really do much there. And now also with the Colts. He got cut. He's a veteran, got cut after camp. Again, I don't know what their camp was structured like, but you knew he was brought in for depth, and they chose not to keep him. So do you want to revisit that because you're familiar? And that's what we're speaking about right now. Like, Kelly gives you that. It gives you that warm feeling like, oh, yeah, we know this. But what is the actual play like? And I'm not ever going to knock anybody because of age, but he's up there in a sense. But you even got people asking for Andrew Whitworth, too.
well, that's just not going to happen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
It's a 0% chance.
I want to
it's
get
gonna
on my soapbox, and I will, about the quality of offensive linemen that are out there right now.
Sure.
It's low.
Very low.
And it starts in high school all the way up through college, and it continues on in the NFL too. And that's why we or certain teams are asking about veteran offensive linemen that may not be what you think they were, but because you know and familiar with them, you go with them. Like Dwayne Brown. I'm not knocking him because I still think he can play. But this dude was out on the street for the most part until the right tackle with the Jets got injured.
Sure.
Mekhi Becton. So that I'll say I'm glad y'all are paying attention to the OL, but it sucks because it takes for your OL to be bad for you to recognize, oh, the quality is low out here. And we've been telling y'all for the longest, we are people too.
Man,
So
you're
my
ready to
kid's
go.
going to be a savage at it,
Titans
too.
fans know that punters are people.
Yeah. Yeah, now they do. Now they do, Will.
Oh, goodness. When we come back, let's take a look around the NFL at some of the big headlines. And one player who is not going to be available to play the Tennessee Titans early on in the 2022 season. That is a big boost for the Titans in those first 4 weeks. Big-time contributor going on IR who will not see Tennessee. We'll do that coming up next. Take a look at other visits as they break around the NFL this morning. All that and more. Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Hour number 2 of the show this morning. It is Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. 615-737-1045 if you have got a Titans reaction to the 53-man roster yesterday. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer with you. The Buffalo Bills, Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
Announcing that officially Tre'Davious White will begin the season on injured reserve.
Oh, wow.
And that is noteworthy because now the lockdown cover corner for the Super Bowl favorites in Buffalo will not be available to play the Tennessee Titans in Week 2 on Monday Night Football.
Sometimes you luck up like this, baby. Like, legitimately, like, I won't sit here and act like we didn't look at rosters, who was up and who was down, and say, all right, here's our opportunity to take advantage. You know what I'm saying, Will? Like, that is an all right situation to be in. It's not minimizing who you are or what you're doing. It's just simply sucks to be y'all. Good thing we're healthy right now.
Will not be back yet, coming off of a torn ACL last season. Placing him on yesterday, the Bills did on the reserve physically unable to perform list to start the season. That means he will miss at least the first 4 games. And for the Bills, that's a kind of a tough first 4 games for them.
Yeah, it is.
You've got the Rams on Thursday night to start the season next week, 8 days away. The Titans on Monday Night Football Week 2. At Miami, big division game. Tyreek Hill, all of the new toys that Miami has in Week 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Baltimore in Week 4.
Yeah.
So your only home game is against the Titans on Monday Night Football. And then 3 decently tough road trips to start the season without Tre'Davious White. So, tore his ACL on Thanksgiving last year against the New Orleans Saints. There was some optimism he would return to the field, but last seen working out on July the 29th. 2020 All-Pro was really good still last year, allowing a 50.8% completion percentage, 4th best among defensive backs with 50-plus targets in 2021.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Other news around the league, one guy who is going to be available the Titans will have to see early in the season. As it stands right now, the artist formerly known as Darius Leonard, now known as Shaquille.
Yeah.
One step closer to returning. The Colts yesterday activating him from the physically unable to perform list.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of speculation he might start the season on IR. Does not appear to be the case. That's big for Indy.
It is.
In getting him back to start the season.
That's huge for him. And they actually look like they planned this all the way out as far as when he, was shut down during camp, had the surgery and whatnot. It's going to take some getting used to seeing Shaquille. Okay, I will say that. Shaquille Leonard.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get used to that.
It's Darius. Like, dude, that's where you made your all-pros at.
Right.
He mess around and fall off a little bit. It was like, all right. Okay, like, let's go back to the old you, okay? Not that I'm hoping that for any other reason when they play the Titans, but just in general, though, like, good on them for getting him back just in time, man. Again, camp for some is a grind. Camp for others is a, hey, let me just get right for the season, because now is actually when it really starts to really just be important to what you're actually doing and who's available. Again, we spoke about this roster a little while ago, Will. The 7 defensive linemen,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever seen it. 5 running backs in that room. I know I hadn't seen that before either,
Sure.
other than somebody having a suspension pending or something like that. So,
Mike Keith told us on Friday last week that this first 53-man roster is much more about preparing for your Week 1 opponent and preparing for the New York Giants. And often you see the final roster, what you really want to sustain throughout the season, being the Week 2 roster. Is there a specific guy, is there a specific group of players that you expect to change the most from Week 1 to Week 2, or even between now and Week 1 that the Tennessee Titans have right now?
Running backs.
Okay.
Because there might be a veteran in Week 2 that they'll end up putting Julius Chestnut down just to get another veteran dude that they don't have to guarantee a salary. Again, I look at that defensive line situation. I almost ask why so many. I do. And also seeing what type of role Trey Avery plays too. Like that's a question mark for me too. Is We didn't speak a whole lot about him. If it's simply special teams, I'm okay with that too, because you need those guys to be able to fill those spots, to play those roles, and not only play those roles, but play them well too, Will. So kid has some height and size on him. He's 5'11", like 195, if I'm not mistaken. He's a big kid.
Yeah, he is.
So, Vrabel like that type, and especially if you're going to be physical. I just don't remember us having a long conversation about things he's did in the preseason, though. So maybe that's just fully neglect on my part, Will. I won't say on yours, but it's probably on mine.
Two guys that were draft picks, one more recently than the other, Theo Jackson and Laurel Murchison, cut adrift by the Titans. Two guys who were not draft picks, who stick as undrafted rookies, in Julius Chestnut and Trey Avery, end up making the team. Is this disappointing to you to see two draft picks cut adrift this early, specifically in Theo Jackson, who we both had on the team? How big of a concern is that for you, that the Titans are getting rid of a sixth-round pick? There are some people that are always critical of this, of losing a draft pick just a couple of months after picking them. To me, you pick somebody in the 6th or 7th round, far from a guarantee that guy makes the team.
It is. Like my guarantee locks, Will, is usually 1 through 4. As far as draft picks
Really?
go.
I would have said 1 through 5.
1 through 4 is where my locks are, man. And depending on what position that 5th rounder is where you kind of consider. 1 through 4 is my locks, man. After that, it's just like a toss-up. I look at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounder, you're supposed to get about 4 years out of them. 3 to 4. Laurel Murchison had just hit 4. Right now. They didn't get that 4th year out of him. Anybody else after that is a bonus. To say I'm shocked that he got cut, lightly, but not a whole lot, Will. I mean, there was a game in which we didn't hear much from him. The last game, I felt like he played well enough, but when you got guys that's been more available and we don't know what his injury was that kind of kept him back or held him out of practices and stuff like that, and then this is the other half of it too, Will. Like, maybe they know they can go get him after the fact, and he can come up later in the season, because to say he can play, that it's not a factor of that. It's a matter of the consistency of his health, allowing him to be out on the field. And you got to start this season off fast. Like, the first 7 weeks of the season are front loaded. Like, you can't have guys in and out of the lineup hoping for health, especially not in the beginning parts of the season. So, I got a feeling he'll end up on this practice squad if he gets claimed or he want to go somewhere else. This is home. Right. I always kind of say guys that play in their home city, I don't know how much of a challenge that is. I know me personally, it would have been one for me because of family and just, trying to manage all of those types of things. You're too familiar. So it's either here or somebody else. This isn't a guy that's going to be out of the league.
615-737-1045 if you want to react to the initial Tennessee Titans 53-man roster here with us on Ramon and Will. We mentioned the report earlier in the show from Terry McCormick of TitanInsider.com, who says that Racey McMath is expected to head to injured reserve before week 1, and that the Titans now will just have 4 other receivers in Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Traylon Burks, and Kyle Phillips. So that would open up a roster spot, and that would open up the ability to bring in a wide receiver who is either just on the street that's been available this entire time, or a guy that was cut yesterday on cut day in the National Football League. The one guy in particular that everyone's going to be talking about is Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, man.
Of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Talk about a 5th-round pick who has been okay for Tampa in the past, but with the addition of Julio Jones, with Scotty Miller winning the spot over him, which I think a lot of people were surprised by. This guy, 48 receptions for 529 yards in a trio of seasons in Tampa. To me, I think the Titans are absolutely interested there. And I think if you're looking at the best possible scenario of a wide receiver that just got cut that could stick here and be a fit, to me, my eyes are on Tyler Johnson.
I know he's a 2020 draft guy too, man. Ended up getting a ring also, right? Yeah, Super Bowl champ. These 2020 guys are very questionable as of late. Even the mayor, he sent us something. Brent sent me something. It's like Des Fitzpatrick was also a 4th-round pick too that didn't get his 4 years. I thought he would have got that right there. Is very interesting.
A 4th-round pick you traded up to get, by the way. Which doesn't look great right now.
Dang it. With that being said, Tyler Johnson, man, I don't know why he's out the way he was there, but the fact that, we know who he is and he has the repertoire coming out of Minnesota, kick the wheels on the wheel, but what more are you going to do with him? Was this a Tom Brady thing? He doesn't run the routes the way I like him to, or was it simply a beat-out situation? All I know is yesterday he got cut, and there was a surprise factor on a bunch of people's faces as far as, like, what happened in Tampa with him.
Right.
I think he'll be claimed by a lower team. I can see Jacksonville or heck, somebody that needs a lot more receivers, Houston, being first ones to be able to claim him, or Chicago. Chicago needs wide receivers as far as the pecking order goes. I think they get first stab at him also. And Justin Fields has really nobody. He's got a VFL brother.
Velus Jones is wide receiver 2 of the Chicago Bears.
But as far as experience on that team,
yeah, there's none.
That's where I would see Tyler Johnson going. Another NFC team, played in Minnesota, so he's acclimated to what the weather can be. Pretty wild, though. And he's from Minnesota.
Other guy I could see the Titans taking a look at, talking about wide receivers who are available. Marcus Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Is going to be out there. Probably not as high on the list for me as Tyler Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus Johnson cut by the San Francisco 49ers. Willie Snead was the other guy cut by San Francisco, who has a little bit of name recognition there. Marcus Johnson, of course, in 2021, just 9 catches for 160 yards. But you talk about 5th wide receivers, 6th wide receivers that you're going to bringing in. I think Titans fans and NFL fans expect, Ramon, some big kind of difference maker to be available on the waiver wire right now. The guys you're going to bring in, you're looking at 200, 300 yards of receiving production, maybe. And you're really looking at core teamers. And that's what you lose if Racey McMath is unavailable because of that hip injury.
There's nobody getting cut except for maybe Tyler Johnson and O.J. Howard that are going to be your, starters, contributors, in my opinion, Will. You might find somebody because of injuries down the line that you have to place in a role, but these guys that are getting cut aren't your starter types. Even the offensive linemen. That's the reason teams are trading and giving up draft picks for them instead of, waiting for the wires to come through. And what's so interesting about it, the scramble to fill your practice squad. Teams are just going to be grabbing and stashing guys for the most part, man. You're looking for just role players at this point. And the Titans, I think, for the most part, even with the guys that we didn't expect, Will, they've kind of filled those positions, man, for the most part. A.J. Moore Jr., him being on roster at safety.
Sure.
There is depth at positions in which, all right, let's look at Christian Fulop, Caleb Farley, Roger McCreary. That cornerback group to me is very freaking solid. Like I said,
versatile.
It's very versatile too. Like you said, if Elijah's out, then you look at Ugo Amadi and say, okay, well, we got a guy that can get us by for a couple of weeks. The same goes for the safety position too. Like Joshua Kalu being very flexible and watching what they do. There's depth here. It's almost as if the way they constructed this roster with the subtraction also of only having one or 2 quarterbacks on this team allowed you to make these other moves. The 5 running backs, the 7 defensive linemen, they ended up getting 11 secondary guys.
Right.
Where you need depth, you have it already. Again, I know a lot of people don't enjoy what the offensive line is right now.
Right.
As far as, what is Jamarco Jones going to be able to do if Corey Levin has to come in and what you are allowed to do, though, is shuffle guys around if you have to. Aaron Brewer can go to center. And also this is another factor is having Nate for game 1. That's also another question mark we have to look at too, Will, which also may have played into the part of why Dylan Radins got some right guard work in that last game.
615-737-1045 is the number. Seth on Twitter at Ramon and Will says Marcus Johnson looks the part and flashed last year but can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely.
It was a hammy, wasn't it?
It was. That's definitely the evaluation on him last season. That's a guy that looked really good in camp for this team a year ago. We were talking about him a lot this time last year.
Well, later in the season, too, before the hamstring, and he went to IR. Remember, he pretty much – was it a touchdown in the end zone or was it a drop when he finally pulled that hamstring? I remember it was on the left sideline when he got injured, and he went to IR not soon after that. But you're right. He's the guy that can – take the top off the defense.
We were talking a lot about him and Chester Rogers this time last year.
Yes, we
Looking
were.
back about kind of the wide receivers that impressed you the most.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a touchdown last season. So it would have been on a drop.
Yeah, it was
I
a
would
drop
imagine.
in the end zone
Yeah.
where he pulled that hammy,
That's
man.
right. Let's go back to the phones where Joe is in Murfreesboro hanging out with us this morning. What's going on, Joe?
What's up, Joe? Good morning.
Oh man, it's a beautiful day. How about up there in Big Nashville?
Man, we're all
It's
good.
fantastic.
Hey, let me ask you a question. First of all, Ramon, my blood breeds is orange just like yours, and it is so great to have a guy on this talk show, which is probably the best one in the country that I've ever listened to, and I've been around a little bit.
Thank you.
It's really neat to have a Vol as part of the talk show.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
You've
you.
got great taste.
Hey, I want to ask you. You guys talk about the travel squad a whole lot, and I remember, people being stepped down to the travel squad to rehab or to get better at what they're supposed to do, for lack of any professional words. But what do they make when they're on the travel squad? Do they make any real money, or is it a set figure, or what? And I'm gonna hang up and listen to y'all. So thank you a lot.
Thank you,
All
Joe.
right, thank you. They do now make a good bit of cash, man. They said that was part of the new CBA, too, is a bunch of guys were saying we have to take care of the practice squad guys. They do everything that the active players do. They have to be there. They have to be accountable, man. In 2022, the practice squad for the NFL will be $19,900 a week, which is 9 times 17 games. 338,000.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
There you go.
Not bad at all. Good money to be made. That was a part of the CBA that a lot of people did not pay attention to. Of course, you didn't get a lifetime Look, I know we didn't get that, but guys said they wanted more cash in their pockets. You'd play this game, Will, and we speak about a lot of guys that'll do this job for 1 year, and they're out.
Right.
This at least for guys that didn't have and you know this to be true, didn't have the opportunity in college to get a resume or build up your resume, do jobs, having internships, make those connections as far as the work world goes. You have at least a year of pay that's going to get you. What's crazy is the rookie minimum when I came in 2009 was $405.
Right.
So now practice squad is making about $338, $340.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in. When we come back, let's talk more about that practice squad and the guys who have been cut adrift by the Tennessee Titans yesterday on cut day who could be fits to stick around and become development pieces long-term for John Robinson and this organization. Jeremy Fowler coming up at 8:20. Rhett Bryan at 9:20 today. We are all Titans all the way on cut day. All NFL headlines after this as well. It is Ramona Will, powered by all four seasons of 104.5 The Zone.
Are you tired of working for someone who doesn't see your potential or providing you with the opportunity to grow in your industry? Hey, it's Ramon Foster, and I know the company that can offer you the opportunity you are looking for, and they are Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a small, locally owned company that is looking to get bigger, and you can be a part of that expansion. Become one of their service experts and receive medical, dental, and vision benefits, matching 401ks. Yes, matching 401ks. 2 weeks of vacation after your first year, holiday pay, company and factory training, and top pay within industry standards. You could become Spring Hill Heating and Cooling's next all-star. Apply now at springhillac.com.
It's Ramona Will on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors here in Nashville.
Dude is
Will
back.
Bowling, Ramon Foster with you. Jonathan Schaefer with the good vibes this morning. What is this?
Jay-Z.
Pharrell.
Oh, this is
Change
Jay-Z?
clothes.
That's
With
on me.
Pharrell, when him and Pharrell just dishing out, just
Uh-huh.
the Maybach coupe is back. Tell the whole world the truth is back. Hey, well, hey, come on, man.
I didn't know this one. Didn't know this one. Practice squad candidates for the Tennessee Titans. Many guys who were cut who may not stick here, but of those who were cut, I think number one priority for me, other than Logan Woodside, and I think keeping him there.
Okay, Babs.
Because, I forget that's a whole thing. I don't know why that's still a whole thing. Tommy Hudson
Okay.
is one of those guys.
Okay.
But I think David Aneni is the one that this team wants to continue to develop and continue to keep on this team, who might get a chance if one of those defensive linemen goes to injured reserve.
Okay.
Namely, Danico Autry, if he has to start the season on IR.
You know, it's a question for me.
What's that?
And a serious one, man, because we're here in back-to-back, like the Miami Heat, okay? Or like the Golden State Warriors. What do we do with Dez Fitzpatrick?
I mean, I think we lower our expectations.
Come on, Will.
If you're saying what we are doing.
Okay, all right, okay.
Des Fitzpatrick is no longer a fourth-round pick to me. He's a guy that's been cut 2 years in a row. That is what he's remembered as in his time as a Tennessee Titan at this point.
And moved up to go grab him, though, too, Will.
Missed opportunity.
That's a situation where you just kind of question, like, okay, what did you see? How did you evaluate him? And I know the draft is hit or miss. I'm not saying you're supposed to bat 1,000. Ain't no way you could bat 1,000. But I expected more from a guy like him, man, being in the system for this long, and I say this long because you learn a lot from year one to year two.
Sure.
You got to be humbled by the fact that you were cut, last year. You come back and you make some plays. On one of Tannehill's interceptions, wasn't it because he didn't really come all the way back to the ball, too?
That's right.
So you facing that demon. And then you go into camp also, and you have Racy kind of just jump up in front of you. Like, man, there's a sense of, I don't want to say he's not prideful about his job because I think he's a competitor, but I'm really questioning how the heck you let this happen again.
Exactly.
When you control this.
It's a fool me once,
yeah, man,
fool me twice situation.
I almost want to say I don't even want him on the practice squad, because how long do you continue to deal with this? Again, a fourth-round draft pick. Of course, you spend money on him because of the signing bonus, Will, but there is no obligation here, my brother.
To me, if I'm in the Titans organization, it's, look, buddy, we gave you an offseason award.
Yep.
We gave you every chance. We had you playing late fourth quarter in the last preseason game.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't repay us for the investment that we made in you, whether it was draft capital, opportunities in preseason. And look, to be fair, a player doesn't pick where he's drafted.
That's very true.
A player does not choose the amount of pressure that is put on him the day that he walks into a facility.
Mm-hmm.
But this league doesn't care.
No.
That's the reality of the National Football League. And there are a lot of guys who deserve to be drafted who weren't. I'm preaching to the choir here. There are a lot of guys that are willing to work to prove that they, should have been able to control their destiny a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
So just the fact that you can't control your destiny, I have little sympathy because
I'm with you.
there are a lot of guys that would like to have more control over their destiny who were undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
You were overvalued. So at this point, I agree with you that I think there are other priorities for who the Tennessee Titans should keep in the mix and guys that they should bring from elsewhere. For me, for Des Fitzpatrick, it's we appreciate the effort, but it's probably time to find another place to see if you can stick somewhere else.
And this is another part of this too. Cut and cleared waivers last year.
Yeah.
That's the reason you were back on practice squad.
And that was coming off of trading up to get him.
Yeah.
So not only did you trade up to get a guy who didn't make your roster, no one else had, that we know of, had a strong enough feeling about him the way that you did to then go pick him up.
Yeah.
It's not like you just picked a fifth-round wide receiver and then you pushed him to waivers. That's different. You traded up to get this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't control that amount of pressure and where he's picked, but I mean, you've got to repay the investment that's been made in you.
If it looked like we're being cruel, no, this is just the business of it.
No, it's the reality of the National Football League.
It is. And to that point, though, if there's guys got to have on my list, I take Cody Hollister just because of what he can do on practice squad with the Cards. I'm also going to get Joe Jones.
Joe Jones was the other guy on my list, too.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. Logan, just simply because you do need that third quarterback around your roster.
I think Jack Gibbons another guy that they're going to try to keep around.
You know, another thing about Logan, too, and I know some teams travel with practice squad. I guarantee you Tannehill has a sense of security with Logan Woodside, being that he's a veteran, understands the offense better than what Malik does. The communication from player to player, as far as quarterback to backup quarterback or veteran quarterback.
It's huge.
Yes, sir. It means a lot.
That's the only it's the only position in a lot of ways other than the specialists where there's really only one other guy for you to work with and talk through processes. I mean, as an offensive lineman, you've got 7 or 8 other offensive linemen, maybe 3 or 4 other guys at your position that you can, review
hash
film
stuff
with and hash stuff out with. The quarterback position, you got one guy, and that's why you see Tom Brady, fight to keep Blaine Gabbert. In Tampa.
Yes.
You fight to see guys. Joshua Dobbs has made a career for himself in this league.
Yes, he has.
Because of the relationships, and you know this firsthand, the relationships he has with the starting quarterback he's playing with.
Chase Daniels being on rosters like that.
100%.
Brian Hoyer to friggin' Tom Brady.
All of the McCowns.
So, it does mean so. I want to see Logan clear waivers and make this practice squad and be, honestly, a weekend travel guy with the team, too.
The 2 professions I want in sports, number 1, of course, being a fired college football coach. Number 2, I think it'd be so fun to be a backup quarterback.
It is.
You say that like somebody else who's like, this guy's over here just sitting around.
Buddy.
Please.
Being a backup quarterback for a team with a solid number 1.
Chase Daniels came in with me, him, and Hoyer, and they still collecting.
You picked the wrong position.
I should have slung it, shouldn't I?
That position chose you.
I can be that at quarterback.
Halftime of the show here on this Wednesday edition. Halftime of the week, one might say. Halftime of the midweek show. Coming up in hour 3, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. We'll hit the NFL headlines with him and get his perspective on wide receivers who could be fits with the Tennessee Titans. Rhett Bryan gives his 53-man roster analysis in hour 4. Don't blink, you just might miss it. Hour number 3 coming up next. It's Ramona Will, powered by All 4 Seasons, 104.5 The Zone.
It is 8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Titans made 29 roster moves in order to meet the 53-man roster deadline. Quarterback Logan Woodside, wide receivers Des Fitzpatrick and Mason Kinsey, defensive lineman Larrell Murchison, also defensive backs Chris Jackson, Theo Jackson were among the notable cuts. More roster moves are expected in the coming days. Teams allowed to sign 16 players to their practice squad beginning today. One sleep away. Vols Ball State season opener at Neyland Stadium tomorrow. Tennessee Director of Athletics Danny White joined 3HO yesterday. He explained how Josh Heupel and his staff are building the program the right way. Vol Network coverage tomorrow begins at 4 o'clock, kickoff at 6. Bob Kessling will join Ramon and Will tomorrow morning. The Braves lost to the Rockies 3-2. Dodgers beat the Mets 4-3. New York remains 3 games ahead of Atlanta in the NL East. And the Boys in Gold host the Colorado Rapids at Geodis Park. Kickoff set for 7:30. Nashville SC has won 2 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, yes, we are the home of the Vols, who returned home to Neyland Stadium tomorrow night. Cannot wait. Tennessee and Ball State. Football Eve in Nashville, Tennessee. We are Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons.
All right.
That's Keith Bullock, the GOAT. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster with you. Jonathan Schaefer making the show happen this morning.
The best producer in the world.
Knew that was coming. Good to have Ron Slay back in studio yesterday. If you missed the podcast on that one, check it out as Ramon Foster challenged his VFL card, and he was ready to go. He was ready with an answer.
In a light way, and of course. By the way, shout out to him, man. He did a VFL alumni, a Williamson County
nice.
Vol chapter last night, and apparently Ron killed it.
Nice.
He
Of course he
absolutely.
did.
I mean, that's the savage himself.
Most captivating man in radio.
I promise you. But shout out to him for having him and Mike Keefe held that together last night. Just got to bring light to that real quick because this football season is among us.
It is. Cannot believe it. I was talking with Jonathan Schaefer. I'll be at Nashville SC tonight. Before the show tomorrow morning. And I was like, any other day, I'd probably be dragging a little bit. Probably be like a little tired after going to a soccer game and then being back in here at 5:30 the next morning. Tennessee game day, I could get an hour of sleep and I'd be hopping out of bed ready to go. I'm going to be ready.
Man, I used to take those trips in high school with my high school football coach. He played at Tennessee also, Coach Johnny McAdams.
Okay.
And we played games Friday night and get up early the next morning and drive to Knoxville and stuff, man. Shout out to my coach, man.
Yeah.
He was very influential and instrumental into my development of recruiting, whereas now everybody's got an agency they filter stuff through, and just he was sending out VHS tapes, Will, and helping your boy get on the map, man. Me, my brother, a few other of us went D1 out of Ripley, Tennessee, man, because of that. And me being a Vol, match made in heaven, Will.
That's right. Talking NFL headlines around the league this morning with Jeremy Fowler coming up. Talking about draft classes that are no longer intact. Tennessee Titans, after yesterday's cuts, now have one member of the 2020 draft class still in the roster. That's Christian Fulton. And I want to get into this with Jeremy, and I want to get your thoughts on this as well, and how the virtual meetings and how the pandemic changed the interview process for a lot of these players, a lot of these athletes. I mean, you're seeing teams and general managers and executives struggle with keeping their recent draft picks, perhaps more than they typically would have.
Yeah.
After 2020. I mean, you've seen New England miss on more guys than New England's typically missing on. And now after Larrell Murchison is cut adrift by the Titans yesterday, Fulton is the one guy left from that 2020 class.
He is. A second rounder?
Yep.
Second rounder he is, man. The first rounder done after year. And everybody else behind him they felt Laurel held on for as much as he could, and until the other guys they had this camp kind of took that step and left him behind. Man, I'm hoping he gets on somewhere, and I think he will because he's played in this league and people love young, cheap talent too. But that 2020 class, it'll be interesting, Will, like you said, to ask Fowler, where are people with that? Who had a good 2020 class?
Right.
That's tough sledding when you're doing interviews over Zoom and you couldn't make the visits. Do you think the Titans would have had more on Isaiah had that been a traditional offseason? Would you have taken that jump, or would you just taken what his film said and you trusted, what his coaches in college kind of alluded to? That's you're one. What was it? 1 for 6 at this point with that class.
Chris Jackson, the other guy that was let go.
Yeah.
So you had Isaiah Wilson. That one I'm just gonna leave that one there. Christian Fulton, your 2nd-round pick.
Starting.
That's right. Good player.
Yes.
I think he's got potential to take another step forward this season with more help in that secondary with him, of those young guys. Darrington Evans, round 3. Laurel Murchison, round 5. He didn't have a 4th in 2020. Cole McDonald, Hawaii quarterback, in round 7. Didn't make it.
Was it injuries?
To the team? No.
Just
didn't make the team.
Did he come here?
Throwing motion. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Practice training camp. Was cut pretty quick.
God.
Yeah.
Dang, son.
Signed with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. He is currently a CFL free agent right now, Cole McDonald. Cole McDonald had a big arm. His throwing motion was long.
Not even in the CFL?
Nope.
Their season been, about a month going?
He's not playing for a Grey Cup.
That evaluation process that year was just low.
And then Chris Jackson was your pick 243. Chris Jackson, I think, gave you about as much as you can expect out of most 7th-round picks.
2 years?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I give him that.
He started a good amount of games as a rookie that year.
Yeah.
Because of some injuries.
I give him that.
The Titans had in the defensive backfield. But were you surprised at all? I mean, I know we said yesterday we didn't expect Chris Jackson to make the roster.
Yeah.
But when was that evaluation done for you?
As
he
far as
wasn't
Chris
going to make the
Jackson,
team. Yeah.
Probably about game 2.
Okay.
About game 2. I think the noise was louder around everybody else as opposed to him. You can get a feel for it. Again, Trey Avery didn't necessarily see that situation, showing up soon as it did. When they started, and this was another thing too, we didn't pay attention to the moves that they were making, at least as far as guys being safe. When they started trading for, they got guys like Lonnie, and they ended up getting Ugo Amadi. It's just like, no, you're giving up capital to go get these dudes, or you're claiming guys that have played in this league that got more experience than, Chris Jackson. And just the offseason moves that they had as far as getting D linemen like Deshaun Hand and DeMarcus Walker. We probably should have expected Laurel Murchison was in some type of trouble.
Right.
But we didn't pay enough attention to those things, Will. You don't go make those moves for no reason.
Right.
I will say this. I didn't expect Theo Jackson to be one of those cuts.
I agree.
But health, of course, could be an issue, or we don't know where it stands because we don't get the injury reports at this point.
So I think it's an incomplete evaluation process about Theo Jackson, and I say that because is it concerning that you have a late-round pick that doesn't make the team seemingly every year right now? Yes and no. What I'm more willing to say now, Ramon, is with expanded practice squads, I think you're going to see more teams draft guys for the sake of developing them and really investing in their future enough to say, hey, we like you enough to invest a draft pick in you.
Yeah.
And because we have an added, couple of spots of the practice squad, we're going to tell you in the front end of the process that you're going to have every chance to make this team. But if you don't get mad at us if we put you on the practice squad because we like you as a developmental player. And we didn't have that option a few years ago before the pandemic.
That's true.
We didn't have the spots to go into the process and say, look, you're probably a practice squad guy to us, but 2-3 years down the road, we think you're making this roster. We think you're contributing. Is there a formula to draft guys with the intent of knowing, hey, you're probably not going to make the team, but we really want you to stick with us, and we want you to be, to sit in the minors, so to speak, to be a AAA guy for a little bit?
Theo could have been that guy, I thought, this year. Very much so. Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having that position either because, again, about $340,000 on the year for 5 months?
Yeah.
That's a damn good salary, my
It's
brother.
not bad.
All right. If I ask you right now, hey, Will, man, you can go through football camp, you get cut.
Where do I sign? You need me holding kicks? What am I doing? Am I the backup quarterback like I said I really wanted to be?
And guess what? It's not overly physical during the season either as far as scout team goes. So, yes, I think there's a whole lot of value in that, Will, to give yourself some grace. Like, there's a lot you don't know. Some guys come out ready. Like, Roger McCreary, we've been hearing since day one. This dude was ready to go, and he was drafted appropriately. Later round offensive lineman. I'd also say, too, what was it? Not Tristan McKenzie. The young McKenzie kid. Jalen McKenzie. I keep missing his name so much.
There's a lot of McKenzies in the NFL.
Tristan McKenzie is the pitcher for the Cleveland not Cleveland Guardians.
How dare you?
That is a demerit. With that
is demerit.
With that being said, I do like some of the things I saw from Jalen McKenzie. I do.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can go on practice squad, make a good living, develop, because honestly, we may be in this same situation next year. We'll discuss in depth as far as the OL goes.
Sure.
This, I think, now practice squad with as many players that you can keep. I think even on the coaches and the strength and conditioning side, Will, there's a bigger responsibility to develop these guys for the sake of your team.
Right. Tell you what, my biggest pet peeve is, before we go to break, is when people will give draft grades like a week or a day after a draft class is drafted. You know when the time to give draft grades is? 2 years later. Yeah. When only one of those guys is still on the roster. So this is the time where we can now say, hey, Titans 2020 draft class wasn't good enough. Uh-oh. We can say that 2 years later.
Yeah, you can.
Definitively. So call me in 2 years. I'll tell you if the Theo Jackson pick was a bad one, depending on whether or not he's still on the team.
You willing to give a letter grade right now?
For 2020?
Yeah.
A D.
A D.
Yeah. You got one good starter,
Oh.
which is fine.
The 4th round pick, you know who that went on for 2020?
For 2020, I was actually thinking about this.
Ryan Tannehill.
That's right. Well,
that upgrades the entire class.
C. I'll give it a C.
Some will still get Coach Bill get at an F.
Yeah, I was going to say, there we probably – that's fair.
Don't open up that can of worms, man.
Coming up next, we hit the NFL headlines with ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, insider for ESPN.com. What options do the Titans have at the wide receiver position? What was the biggest surprise to him from the cuts, the trades, the moves that were made on Cut Day 2022 yesterday? We'll do that coming up next. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons, 104.5 The Zone. It's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. On this Wednesday morning, Will Bowling, Fall for Life 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, and Jonathan Schaefer, our producer here today. And we head to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline as we check in with Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, hitting the NFL headlines. Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Doing great.
Morning, Jeremy.
Appreciate a few minutes here on what I know has been a very busy week. Was there one specific move yesterday that surprised you the most, whether it's cut, trade, or anything that happened on cut day yesterday in the National Football League?
Looking around here, I wouldn't say there was anything that was shocking. I mean, you had a lot of good players, draft picks that were picked fairly high in the last few years, that they got moved on. Kellen Mond, the third-round pick quarterback in Minnesota after 1 year, that was kind of ruthless. But, when new regimes come in, they didn't draft him, no attachment there. So, they kind of move on. The Alex Leatherwood situation in Las Vegas is a little shocking on the surface. But when you look into it and just they were really displeased with his play and his overall performance there, kind of in the building and on the field. And so just new regime as well, it made sense for GM Dave Ziegler to move on. I thought he would have some sort of trade value, and he just didn't.
Yeah, what is the market for Alex Leatherwood at this point of the process? Because one of those players Vegas looked for a trade for, it doesn't end up finding a partner. He ends up getting cut. What's the market for him right now within waivers and free agency?
Well, I would be shocked if he's picked up on waivers because of the big contract. You have a first-round pick, top 20 pick.
Right.
So that's, I want to say, like almost $7 million over the next over the next 3 years. You would pretty much be committed to because those deals are mostly, if not all, guaranteed. So he will pass through waivers most likely, and then somebody will pick him up either on a practice squad or just a veteran minimum deal. Honestly, just based on what I know, I was told the Raiders had no takers. I do think Pittsburgh at least kicked the tires on it because they were looking at a lot of different tackles and guards in the trade market. But this is, I hate to compare the Isaiah Wilson situation, but it seems to be going that track unless he can turn it around.
Golly, Jeremy, thanks for joining us, man. That's wild because the moment I saw him at Alabama, I thought to myself, he could have went to the NFL as a freshman. And for him to turn into this, and I'm not going to front office bash Jeremy by asking you this, but what did they see? What didn't we see during his play last year? Have you gotten any conversation around why he was let go after 1 year? Like, did Mayock overlook something?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they did their homework, certainly.
Yeah.
Sometimes a guy gets in your building and, you hope that some of the deficiencies they can overcome, whether it's, laziness or work ethic or whatever it is. It just didn't seem like that turned around. And you got to remember, John Gruden loomed large with every draft pick. It's sort of unclear exactly who was making the picks, but I'm not going to put this one on Mike Mayock from what I know. I mean, I think John Gruden was heavily involved in all those picks that didn't work out there. So it's one of those things where I talked to teams that a lot of teams didn't have a first-round grade on him, but certainly enough teams had a second-round grade on him where they expected him to be a productive pro. I don't think anybody really saw this.
When it comes to that position, though, just across the offensive line, yesterday and the day before, we saw a few trades and draft picks given up for veteran guys on other teams. As far as the people you talk to around the league, Jeremy, like there's been a focal point on offensive line play. Where are they as far as, guys coming out of college, the development of players too, because they're not even waiting for, the waiver wire. They're just going ahead and trading for guys that they think are quality, and some of those guys aren't even that strong candidates to be starters.
Yeah, I think when guys come in the league, they're in different offenses than they used to be 15, 20 years ago, a lot of spread. In a lot of cases, tackles aren't asked to do as much, so it's just more of an acclimation to the NFL game. It takes more time, so I think guys are just a little more raw when they come into the league. And so I get the sense teams are perpetually frustrated, and I think that's why, when you play with Pittsburgh, you had they made sure they had 5 good ones, right? And you saw the success as a result, and they had to invest a lot of draft capital, too, with guys like Pouncey and DeCastro. And so teams now depending on depending on the formula for each team's drafting. But some teams are saying, hey, we're going to sell out, get whatever we can early in the draft on offensive line, just because it's such a commodity, and there's a feeling that there's a scarcity league-wide in good players at that level. And I'm even looking here at the waiver wire. There are a ton of offensive linemen that were cut despite the need league-wide. You'd think teams would hold on to these guys, but in a lot of cases they're moving on too if they just feel like they can't play at that level.
Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, with us here on Ramon and Will. Tyler Johnson, one guy that caught my attention, Jeremy, and from the Tennessee Titans perspective, they cut Des Fitzpatrick for the second straight year. They carry 5 receivers, and there's been lots of talk about possibly a move for Racey McMath to injured reserve, or even the Titans just adding a 6th wide receiver onto this roster as it stands right now. Who are some of those options the Tennessee Titans could look at? Tyler Johnson, other names that you feel like are going to be the hot commodities of the wide receiver position?
Yeah, there are a good bit of names here, depending on what you need. I mean, Tyler Johnson's interesting because he's sort of that classic outside wideout, so if you need that, and if Racey McMath does go on IR, he's a big body outside guy, so maybe they can fill it with that sort of player. But I would imagine Johnson goes pretty early on the waiver wire list. You have Jacksonville, Detroit, and all those teams that can pick first, have priority. So Preston Williams is out there. He's a big receiver. I know Detroit likes him. There'd be a good bit of options here. If you're Tennessee, things got complicated by Kyle Phillips. You got a late round pick who came in. When I made my trip to Tennessee, I was told, we haven't figured out a way to guard this guy. And that was, weeks ago. And so he just keeps getting better. So they really have a good 4-man rotation with Phillips and their 3 starters that they feel like can sort of line up anywhere, inside, outside, whatever you need, sort of interchangeable parts. So, maybe Tennessee picks up a 5th wideout. But I don't know that they'll go crazy and make some splash move, though. They probably just need like a complimentary role.
A team the Titans have to play, man, is the Bills early on in the season. And Tre'Davious White going on IR for a little while. Where does that put them, at the start of the season? I know, of course, it's not the start, it's the finish, but you got some key games early on that the Bills have to be contenders in. Do you kind of, pull back on the Vegas bets with the Bills right now?
No, I don't, because just talking to them at least, they feel like, one, Kyer Elam has come along as a good first-round pick. He's going to be an immediate starter most likely. And then they have some other players that they like. It's not a system where you're playing heavy man on an island and saying, go get him, guy, go cover DeAndre Hopkins or, Cooper Kupp. So they feel like the system overall can overcome the loss of one player, and they have 2 really good safeties. They can offset some of that. So the Bills feel like all that's manageable. They could look at like a Joe Hayden type or one of the veteran corners that are out there. There just hasn't been a lot of traction for those guys who have done well and made a lot of money, and they're not going to sign for the minimum, And so teams aren't really offering much more than the minimum in a lot of cases. So it's tricky for those veterans.
Jeremy, talking about defensive backs and specifically those Tennessee Titans DBs that were trying to cover Kyle Phillips, it's obvious to us that this team really likes the evaluation of Roger McCreary. They like the Ugo Amadi pickup, a local guy that gives them more versatility in the secondary. What's your impression of where Tennessee kind of stands in the secondary right now and the feelings they have about all of these young corners that they've got on this roster?
Well, they got to give those guys a chance. Fulton and Farley, it's time for them to step into prominent roles. That's why you draft those players high. The Titans knew that. They feel like those guys are up for the challenge. I mean, Farley's got, I don't want to say superstar potential, but I might be willing to go that far. I mean, He's long and athletic, and if he can stay healthy, they feel like he's got the right mentality, to be a top guy. So I don't think the secondary is their issue at all. McCreary's like one of those. When I asked some scouts pre-draft, like who's the guy who's not getting enough credit in the process in the media, like his name would come up among 8 to 10 guys. Like he was a player that teams really liked, just his toughness. So, and Lonnie Johnson, is an accomplished guy. Well, he's a second-round pick, hasn't done a whole lot in the league, but he started games, and he can play a backup safety corner role. So, that defense I like. I'm bullish on their defense overall. It just depends if they score enough points, honestly.
While you were here in Nashville, of course, Derek didn't do a whole lot as far as practice goes, but I thought it was quite interesting that the Titans kept 5 running backs, well, the 5th one being a fullback, Torrey Carter. from your sense, and if you had those conversations, do you think this is a run-heavy year for Derek? Kind of the way, they do it running backs in this league is, all right, you're about, 7-8 years in. It's time to continue to, run you into the ground. Do you think that's the case, or do these 5 backs mean that, he might get spared more?
Come on, Ramon. What are we talking about here? We're talking about Derrick Henry. Like, they're going to run him. He's going to get his 300 touches. Come on. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, they feel like he, before the injury, didn't look slowed down at all.
Wow.
And this is no newsflash, but when I was there in Tennessee on my training camp trip, it's shocking what he looks like in person. Like, he looks like an offensive tackle. Like, it's just shocking. And so they feel like his speed is kept up too. So as long as he has the size and hasn't lost 20 pounds that we know of, which we can confirm is true, and he can still run, like, he's going to get the ball. There's no issue with that. They'll spell him certainly, and I could see some passing game wrinkles. And look, he got Malik. I don't necessarily think they're going to use Malik in some sort of wildcat role, but if you feel like you're stagnant, maybe you can go that route. I mean, the guy's such a tremendous athlete, so they're going to have options. But Henry's going to get the ball. There's no doubt. It's going to be a similar identity to the offense. I don't think that's really going to change.
I love how you called me. I was like, come on, Ramon. You know the guy like I do.
I love it.
And I saw him in practice too, man. Hey, that was my first time this year having the media pass to go see him. You're right. He doesn't look like he's supposed to be playing running back.
It's shocking. I mean, honestly, and you've been around players and like that's the league, and I don't usually like double take, but that was one where I did. And look, he's got 2 years left on his deal. They can move on next year with no penalty at all and save a lot of cap space. And so, there's, I don't want to say the pressure's on, but certainly, he's playing for either a third contract or, a sort of a cemented future in Tennessee. So, there's something on the line for him to produce once again.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN with us here on Ramon and Will. Malik Willis's steps that he took forward in training camp impressed us, Jeremy, and from where he came at the beginning of camp to the end. We went into camp expecting, look, there's a very real chance there's 3 quarterbacks on this active roster at this point. Obviously wasn't the case with Logan Woodside being released yesterday. What can you tell us kind of about what you saw from the maturation process for Willis and just what you heard from the coaches and the people in that front office, when you talk about the personality of that guy?
Well, it's interesting. I was tried to watch him pretty closely, and, one thing I noticed where if he and I'm no scout, but this is just my observation, like when he sees it clearly, right, like he knows where he can go with the ball and he sees it developing, man, he just lets it rip and it looks great.
Yeah.
It's when, he's kind of, you can see he's kind of churning his gears a little bit in his head and he's a little slow, then that's when the ball's later inaccurate. So, like, the more he can get comfortable where they feel like, okay, here's a defined read for you, here's where the ball's going, like, he can be special. It's just they know the rest of that is going to take time. And getting that percentage up on those throws where he knows where to go with the ball, it's just going to take a year or two. But, like, in some ways, they feel like the reps he got in the preseason and the way they've kind of overloaded him, tried to expedite his learning curve, they can maybe get there sooner than they even thought. Like, there's a lot of promise there. And, like, I noticed when he rolls to his right specifically and throws, like, it's pretty special. I mean, like, for some reason, that body movement and him throwing on the run like that to his right side is really, really good. So, but there's some stuff that's still head scratching that they got to work through just because they knew that this was going to be a project. And he's a first round talent that went in the third round because it's going to take time, but he's in the perfect place to learn that.
Jeremy, one more before we let you go. It's been great stuff about all the moves going on around in the NFL. You mentioned you're not as worried about the Titans' defense, the defensive secondary, despite all that youth. The offensive line, rather, still has a lot of questions. Nicholas Petit-Frere coming in at right tackle. Some of the switching they've done. Dennis Daly coming over for Carolina. Is that to you the far and away biggest question mark at this point of the evaluation process for the Titans?
Yeah, for sure. And Dennis Daly's a good move because I know some other teams were in on him. Like Pittsburgh, I heard, was in on that trade. So there was some value there. Like, this is a player that has started some games and just a good classic swing tackle that you can start at guard or tackle in a pinch, So it looks like he might step in there and be a starter depending on what they do with Dylan Raduns, the second-round pick. That's the interesting one. I had him marked as like a potential trade candidate. I don't think Tennessee wants to trade him, to be clear, but I just, when you're looking at rosters, and it's like, okay, it looks like he lost the starting right tackle job, but this is a talented, athletic guy. Maybe they wanted to get some value for him. I don't think that anything's going to happen there, but that's just a name that I had earmarked. They got to figure out something to do with him because he's a good player, and I think he'll end up starting in some capacity at one of the guard spots. If not now, then eventually.
Oh wow, you had Radens as a trade value, Jeremy.
Interesting.
Interesting. You're right though. It's where do you put him and when? That's my question about him too.
Right. He's He's a good athlete, man. Like that's what I'm saying. He would have a lot of value if they went that route. To be clear, I don't think they're going that route.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I just, he's going to want to see the field certainly eventually.
Things getting a little weird in San Francisco with the quarterbacks, or that's all good?
It got weird, man. There's no doubt. It got weird in the sense that like nobody expected what was going to happen.
No.
I think there was always on the table the option for him to return, but to say anybody involved, whether Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy G and his agents, like they didn't expect this until it just became clear that they couldn't trade him because everybody knew that they had to cut him. Like nobody was going to give up a package because it was a leverage issue, as it always is with these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the 49ers just simply had none of it. So I think that's just the reality. If they had the leverage, he would be gone and he would be a quarterback somewhere else, So it's sort of pay as you go now. Like he has a no trade clause because that helps him determine his fate for next year.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's an injury league-wide somewhere and they realize, oh, hey, we might be able to get some compensation for him now, then they can waive that no-trade clause. There's sort of an understanding in all this that they can do that. So
no doubt.
It's great for the 49ers. I mean, they get a really good number 2. It's insurance for Trey Lance. And it probably puts a little bit of pressure on Lance in a good way, My issue is more with the locker room because those guys know Jimmy G. Are they going to be saying in week 4, hey, why don't we go to Garoppolo? We know he can get it done. But I think it's a mature enough locker room where that won't be an issue. I really do.
Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, has been our guest here on Ramon and Will. Great stuff. A lot of good info there. And, Jeremy, we always appreciate the time.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Hey, anytime, guys. Appreciate it.
No doubt.
All right, there he is, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. A couple of things I want to react to there, Ramon, specifically about the secondary.
Yeah.
Some good nuggets about his trip to Tennessee and what he had to say and what he saw from Roger McCreary, Caleb Farley within that evaluation process. Plus, we've got a Brett Kern update.
Hey, now.
One place where he is reportedly not going.
Oh.
And it's not one that you would expect. Coming up next, Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons right here on 104.5 The Zone.
and athletic, and if he can stay healthy, they feel like you get the right mentality, to be a top guy. So I don't think the secondary is their issue at all. McCreary's like one of those. When I asked some scouts pre-draft, like who's the guy who's not getting enough credit in the process in the media, like his name would come up among 8 to 10 guys. Like he was a player that teams really liked, just his toughness. So.
There's ESPN's Jeremy Fowler with us just a couple of minutes ago. It is Ramon and Will, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. High praise for Roger McCreary, for a young man that was undervalued throughout the draft process, according to many, including many within the Tennessee Titans organization. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer with you. Rhett Bryan coming up in hour number 4. Good conversation with Jeremy.
It was really good, man. I sent him a text after. Was like, thanks, man. Very opening.
Dropping some nuggets.
Dropped some nuggets. Gave a national outlook on what, the way they view the Titans. I was very it was intriguing also his approach to what Malik was too. How he broke that down is just like, and that's what we saw on film a little bit too. Our guys at Titans Radio kind of say the same thing is when, you look at him, one, he's the developmental guy. He's just got to have time. When he knows exactly what he's doing, like you see the beauty of why he was considered a first-round draft pick. You see the beauty of why people like and flock to Malik, but it's also in those moments when that first, maybe second option is gone, the wheels, they're not touching the ground in the sense of like, all right, where do we go next? And that's the portion of his, advancement he's got to get a little bit better at.
615-737-1045. If you want to react to anything Jeremy Fowler had to say this morning. The offensive line nugget that he dropped as well, that many other teams were in on Dennis Daly from the Carolina Panthers and now newest Tennessee Titan as a guy that had some value on the trade market. Mm-hmm. I think that certainly makes sense considering the move that John Robinson made to go get him and swapping late-round picks in 2024 to bring that guy in. But I think there's a little bit of value there, and the youth is interesting to me, Ramon, because this is not a guy, you mentioned earlier, not a guy that is a 29, 30-year-old tackle that's, stuck on 3 or 4 teams, that's been around the block a couple of times. This is a young guy that can still be molded, that's still got some potential here.
Yeah.
That you can still develop once he gets in that room.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's what you're looking for. Of course, I think one thing John Robinson is doing is going to get those guys that's already in the league. We kind of heard Jeremy say it a little bit, like just across the league, offensive line play is just sketchy for the most part. And a guy that you're sure of, seen film on, has some experience in this league, that's why you commit, a 2024 5th-round pick. Like, Will, that could be significant, okay? I know I said 1 through 4 is my guaranteed spots. 5, you do have to look at and say, okay, well, you can find some gems here or there. Heck, and to give that up for a guy now, at that point, you have to decide on if you're going to re-sign him, depending on what he does, and just the depth aspect of operating with a guy like Dennis Daly, man, I think was a solid move for him. Again, knowing that other teams were in on him lets you know how aggressive John Robinson had to be to go get him. So, yes, that 5th-round draft pick meant more.
Just means more.
It just means
for a player from the SEC also.
South Carolina player.
Little bit of, that's right. A little bit of Brett Kern news, and I want to be careful here because you got to consider the source. This comes from Bob Confer on Twitter, who is a New Yorker, who tweets this morning that punter Brett Kern's dad, Cal, was on WLVL's morning show in New York, said that Brett is not signing with the Buffalo Bills. Titans are encouraging Brett, whom they cut, to stay on the ready in the event their rookie doesn't cut it. Their rookie, obviously being Ryan Stonehouse.
Yeah.
And adding, plus, Brett likes the family life he now has in Tennessee.
That means a lot.
I get it. I would be surprised if that ends up being true.
That means a lot. The family life, like, you got to look at Brett's situation. What is he, 36?
Yeah, there's going to be a market for that guy.
I mean, there is a market
question
for him. But do you want to uproot your family for half of the year, maybe a little bit longer, to go to Buffalo, find apartment housing, and put the kids in a different situation? I'm not sure how old his kids are or where his family is, but it really does mean a lot, Will. But it also means that you get an opportunity to be on a very, very strong Super Bowl contending team. Other point, too, Will, is he's got 8, maybe 9 home games, and about 4 or 5 of those could be in weather where it's below freezing.
Well, that's true.
How does he feel like kicking? At what 15-degree weather
And holding.
and holding.
He held Ryan Suckup kicking a brick 50 yards in Kansas City a few years ago to beat
feel
them.
me? But I'm talking about multiples like week after week, though.
Uh-huh.
Like, how does he feel?
Can't imagine punting in that.
Or does he want to?
that kind of weather.
Like, for real.
Important to consider the source, like I said. That's a listener of that station, WLVL. It is not necessarily someone who works there. Lockport, New York radio. Now, that is Brett Kern's home, Buffalo guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been the place that many have penciled him in to go to. But we'll see.
Let's speak about his foot real quick. Brett Kern's foot real quick. Shafe, when does it start to get cold in Cleveland? About November 20th?
Yesterday?
Tomorrow.
We're on the same.
All right.
We're on the same wavelength there.
Let's go November 13th. They got Vikings at home, outdoor stadium. They got Cleveland at home,
Probably
outdoor stadium.
20 degrees already.
At Detroit, so they're inside. At New England, outside, cold northeastern state. Jets at home. Miami at home. At Chicago, outside and then cold. At Cincinnati, whatever. And in New England at home on January 8th in Buffalo.
Not great. I hate cold weather so much. You'll learn this about me that I detest cold weather. I hate it.
I'm saying as a guy.
Jonathan Schaefer knows this about me. Any day it's like below 40 degrees, I'll walk in here and be like, it's too cold outside.
40?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like 60.
Oh, yeah,
You're all
100%.
When you got options like Brett will have,
yeah,
you take your time.
100%. Coming up next, four's up, ladies and gentlemen. Fourth quarter of the show. Rhett Bryan stopping by to talk some Tennessee Titans. His biggest surprise from cut day, plus his observations of the initial 53. The energy continues for 60 more minutes on this football eve on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 9:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Titans made 29 roster moves to meet the 53-man roster deadline yesterday. Some of the notable ones that were cut: quarterback Logan Woodside, wide receivers Des Fitzpatrick and Mason Kinsey, defensive lineman Larrell Murchison, also defensive backs Chris Jackson and Theo Jackson. More roster moves are expected in the coming days. The teams are allowed to sign 16 players to the practice squad beginning today. One sleep away from the Vols season opener against Ball State at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee Director of Athletics Danny White joined 3HL yesterday. He explained how Josh Heupel and his staff are building the program the right way.
In football, that's what Josh and his staff are doing. They've done just a tremendous job building the right kind of culture, the right kind of kids. I think people are going to really enjoy watching this team compete and how these kids represent our university off the field, too.
Vol Network coverage tomorrow begins at 4 o'clock. Kickoff set for 6. Braves lost to the Rockies 3-2, but the Dodgers beat the Mets 4-3. Braves still 3 games behind the Mets in the NL East. And Nashville SC, the boys in gold, host the Colorado Rapids at Geodis Park tonight. Kickoff set for 7:30. Nashville SC has won 2 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final quarter of the show on a Tennessee game day eve. Yeah. The vibes are immaculate at the 104.5 The Zone studios. It is Ramona Will, powered by all 4 seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Alongside Vol for Life, Ramon Foster, the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, making the show happen. And the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan, hanging out with us. It's true twice. What's going on, Rhett?
Hey, I'm coming in hot because let me just a couple things. All right, I got to get off my plate here because it's not game week yet for Titans, but doggone it sure feels like it, and I'm rolling.
Stand up when you preach.
I'm talking, and listen, Big Orange, let's go get that tomorrow night. Come on,
go rule them out of there.
That minus 35, looking tasty.
So I put out a tweet a couple of days ago when Brett Kern was released, and I just thanked him for his time. I thought the punter, one of the best to ever do it, a super Titan, I called him, and the family person that he is makes me want to be a better person. That's the kind of dude he is.
Yeah, man.
To the guy out there on Twitter that has 100 followers that said, "Did Brett Kern die?" Shut your cake eater. Thanks.
Oh, my God.
That is the end of my TED Talk on that one.
Happy Wednesday,
I'm just trying
man.
to be nice to a man who's been really nice to me, and then we have to have some guy with 100 followers who's going to get snarky. Dude, if you're not a Titans fan, shut your cake eater.
Okay?
Thank you.
Can it?
Now,
That's right.
Let me say the other thing.
Army
And I've been
rations.
talking, you guys have been talking about the cuts, and you've been talking about
The who, and the what, and the whys.
right.
Yeah.
And you've been talking. I heard you guys earlier talking about Des Fitzpatrick. Now, let's first of all, for everybody who is ready to just hammer on John Robinson, you find me a general manager that has a perfect 1,000 batting average, and I will call you a liar.
That's right.
Because, and I use this as an example. All right. The New England Patriots, Devin Asiasi. Third round pick, 91st overall, gone. Dalton Keene, third round, 101, gone. N'Keal Harry, first round pick,
That was a bad
32nd,
one.
bye.
Gone.
Sony Michel, gone. And the reason I say that, nobody's perfect. And by the way, like what somebody would say, but Rhett, the Patriots have won six championships. It's been a minute since that last one, hadn't it?
It has been a minute.
By my count, it's been 30 months since they were in a playoff game doing something.
Right.
Remember the Titans? I believe they ended that, didn't
Yeah,
they?
that was the start of
Yes,
the
they
end.
did.
All right. So anyway, when we're talking about Des Fitzpatrick, and look, I know every GM and every team has a Panda Wilson pick at some point.
Sure.
It happens.
It does.
Des came from a place where he wasn't asked to do a whole lot, like a lot of college receivers. And I would put him back on the practice squad for one reason. He knows your stuff. And because you think about this, I had picked 5 receivers.
Right.
for the initial roster. That's exactly what they did. But then you get reports that Racey McMath is going to be placed on IR because of a hip that he got the other night. So you're down to 4. First of all, Dez, he made some strides. I saw him that last week of camp. He had a really good week.
Yeah.
The drop, the other night, okay.
Don't help.
But you have him there for the same reason that you want to put Logan Woodside back on the practice squad.
Okay.
He knows your stuff. He knows your system. He's done enough. You can plug him in at a pinch if you needed to. That's what you got to have in this. Mike Keith did the stats on that 91 players they went through. There were 23 guys that they brought in off the street that maybe had one practice and had to play Sunday. So with that in mind, you need somebody there. Now, there's a better option. Okay, whatever. But he knows where the bodies are buried, so to speak. He knows what you're doing. So that's the end of all of my TED Talks.
Sure.
Let's talk Titans.
Well, I think on that same discussion, it's important to remember one of the last things we've heard Mike Vrabel say about Des Fitzpatrick, Rhett, was a compliment to him on special teams. Getting around a gunner and making a nice play on special teams in the last week of camp and in that last game against Arizona. And look, I think from a management standpoint and a front office standpoint, you give yourself more grace when you hit on the Nick Westbrook-Akinas, when you hit on the other guys within that
Aaron
room.
Brewers.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
And even Kyle Phillips to an extent, a late round guy who Jeremy Fowler of ESPN tells us in the last hour he can't. The defense doesn't know how to cover him is all he's hearing. He's here watching camp and all he can hear about is we don't know how to cover Kyle Phillips.
A glitch in the system.
You create a margin for error for yourself to have one that doesn't go your way of a guy you traded up for and tried to go get in Des Fitzpatrick. And I think when you talk about the wish list of wide receivers and Tyler Johnson from Tampa Bay and all these guys that are out there, Tyler Johnson's probably not making it to the Titans on the waiver list.
No, because they're at 26th, I think, currently on the pecking order.
You talk about Detroit and Jacksonville, Chicago, another team that's going to be in front of you that needs wide receivers. So I think from John Robinson's standpoint, you're right, especially in that room. Okay, Des Fitzpatrick hadn't worked out yet. You hit on Nick Westbrook-Akina. You created a margin for error for yourself at that position.
Yeah. No, you absolutely. And look, the real general managers in this league, when they get picks that stick and hit in rounds 4 through 7 or undrafted in what you've been talking about, those are the real general manager of this league. Yeah, everybody can pick a first rounder and something happens and it's great. They can also pick one and it doesn't work. We mentioned him, Panda Wilson. All right. So, but yeah, you know, that is why John Robinson is constantly churning the back end of this roster to look for, he said it a million times, the best 53 guys.
Sure.
And when you get into the regular season, the best 46 up on game day. That's why they traded for the offensive lineman the other day from the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
He'll be a swing guy. However many linemen they keep up on a game day, he'll be a much-needed swing guy back there that can play, guard, tackle, whatever they need.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
When it comes to Dez, also, Rhett, what was the separator for him this year in camp? Of course, he had a good offseason. Vrabel acknowledged that.
Yeah.
He has some spurts, but he finds himself on the outside looking in at the beginning of the season.
I think the aforementioned Racey McMath enters into that conversation because he took a major step forward. And he's a big physical receiver who is still finding his way because he wasn't asked to do a ton at LSU. But he can play special teams and do it well as a gunner and also a returner if you need him because he has, scary speed at a guy that's 6'3", 217.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I mean, it's a numbers game. You know this. You know this better than anybody. You lived it for 11 years, man. But, it's those kinds of things, I think, that ends up being a tipping point. Yep.
We'll get deeper into – I'm stuttering. We'll get deeper into the numbers side of it, too, because I had some questionable ones around, how they made up the 53. Not in a bad way, but just like, well, what's the plan? And I know we got to call
the plan is that ain't the final 53.
Oh, we were just going to go to the call.
Yeah,
man.
Just dropped off.
Golly, man. Patience is the virtue here.
Well, I was long-winded, so that's my fault.
And that's necessary, too, sometimes.
Mark in Murfreesboro, I think it was.
Yeah.
Feel free to call back.
It's
Shout
a
out to you, Mark.
We had a Rhett talk this morning.
We had a Rhett talk this morning.
good information.
Very interesting makeup, though, so far with this group. And, again, there are some vets out there potentially that you get after week one. There was also the conversation of Dennis Kelly. Where are you at on that? I know it's just like that old thing, man.
I think with the trade that you made for the lineman from Carolina the other day, I think that probably eliminates that possibility.
That eliminates that, for sure. Dennis Daly.
Yeah, Dennis Daly. I mean, I wouldn't rule out a reunion. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but, I wouldn't think it would
That
be
ain't the
likely.
life we ready to live right
well,
now.
I mean, and Dennis is on up there now. Dennis is,
Yeah, absolutely. That works out there. That checks out. Will and I did our projections yesterday and over the weekend, too, as far as the 53. I think we both missed about 3 or 4. We all got the specialists right, though.
We did. We absolutely did.
Did you hear Will's report also at the end of the hour?
About Brett Kern.
Potentially Brett Kern
Staying in the area. A listener of WLVL in Rockport, New York, Bob Confers, this guy's name, says.
Bob Confers, hello.
That's right. Says Brett Kern's dad, Cal, was just on the morning show on WLVL, said Brett is not signing with Buffalo. Titans are encouraging him to stay ready in the event their rookie, Ryan Stonehouse, doesn't cut it. Plus, Brett likes the family life he now has in Tennessee.
Well, and his children have grown up here and are growing up here. He loves it here. The family loves it here. And the other part of it is that also tells me that he's probably not getting offers that he would find handsome or like. And let's just say if it's a league veteran minimum, you're going to take that for here more than you would somewhere else because you're not having to, even if you leave the family here to go play for the season, there's no real expense to staying where you are.
Right.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's a back channel thing in this because, while Ryan Stonehouse is a rookie and he has a monster leg, you need an insurance policy, and
you do.
You dance with the one that brung you, right? The one that and you've known him for 13 seasons. So,
and
Titans needed an insurance policy in 2020.
Brett's kids are a little bit older. He's at that point where that decision's to be made about stuff like this. Like you got to consider your kids. If that report is true.
Sure. Yeah, I want to say Bryce is like he's not, if he's not in middle school, he's close to
double-digit age from what I can see on the profile. Yeah, he's over 10, 11, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to get Rhett Bryan's thoughts on the biggest surprise of the Tennessee Titans 53-man roster. Talk about that big defensive line group and the 5 running backs who end up making the roster on the offensive side of the football. Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio hanging out with us this morning. It's Ramona Will, powered by all 4 seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Football.
Autumn
Football.
wind is a Titan.
I love this song so much. Ramona Will, powered by all 4 seasons of 104.5 The Zone. Before we get to the roster analysis from one Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, Will Bowling and Bo Foster with you.
Hey, now.
Ball State football with a tweet says game week has a picture of some river in Tennessee. It's not Knoxville. And on the top right corner, guys, they have Ball State at Tennessee, spelled Tennessee. They didn't put the second S in Tennessee.
Okay.
Are they serious?
Are they from Alabama or what's
Tennessee.
going on?
Oh. Yeah, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Really looking forward to seeing the Tennessee
Ball
Volunteers.
State.
You can hear them live tomorrow night right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Now I feel bad. Like, I got to go see their profile.
On the Tennessee Vols radio network.
Check their transcripts.
Yeah, their transcripts are trash.
Oh, goodness.
Vol football.
Anyway.
We fly? Sorry, Blaine. I ain't mean to just trash the school like that.
You were
No,
chirping.
you did. No, you did. You did. You just trashed it. Don't apologize for it. Don't qualify it.
You're
Just
chirping.
go ahead and say
You're chirping the Cardinal.
He been on me bad about that, Rhett. I'll say something, and I'll go respectfully, like, no, moan.
Yeah, but most of the times that any of us
If
say
you're
something
having to
with
either
respectfully.
preface that or follow up a statement
That's
with that, it's not really anything
What?
respectfully.
Yeah, with the utmost disrespect possible. Do better, social media team, Ball State Cardinal.
Straight up.
Tennessee.
615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to cousin Joey hanging out with us this morning, talking about Julius Chestnut,
Joe.
one of 5 running backs making the
Joey.
Tennessee Titans roster. What's going on, Joey? Good morning.
Good morning, fam. Hey, Ray, how you doing, my brother?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing good. Just fixing to get ready actually to head up to class. But my question was this morning is, I mean, I understand that they're still turning the roster and nothing is set in stone yet, and like I said, and it's a numbers game. But what is the benefits of right now keeping Chestnut over Anini? Because during the the preseason, during the games, Chestnut didn't really impress me. But Anini, listening to Coach Mack and Mike Keith, that it seemed like every time that Anini was out there, he flashed with, I think it was 3 sacks, 2 breakups, a forced fumble. I mean, it just seemed like he was always around the ball. So, at this point in time, what's the benefit, like I said, of keeping Chestnut over Anini?
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Joey. Now, that's something that really can only be answered behind the walls of Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that Julius Chestnut will end up being put on the practice squad at some point, if it's not this weekend. That's just my opinion, nothing to base that on. Let's go back to your question, though, Joey. Everybody has a training camp or preseason crush, and one got a job over the other in performance. And I think a lot of that stems from fear, if you're a longtime Titans fan, from LeGarrette Blount getting out of here many years ago and having a career. And, again, that was a numbers game, and, that ended up well for him. And, Titans still wish he had played in a Titans uniform. But David Anini, first of all, I'm one of his biggest fans. Him and Sam Okwanu are great young men, have great stories in how they got to this league and, what they're doing. And, David did not really start playing football till his junior year in high school.
Yep.
And so he is still a bit raw. And you're like, well, wait a minute. He had production at the University of Houston. He did. He had 4 straight seasons of 4+ sacks in 4 consecutive years. And he played under 2 different head coaches. He played in the 4-3, played in the 3-4.
Yep.
But he still needs more work and polish and technique to his game. He'd be the first person to tell you that. Now, with that in mind, I sure hope he clears waivers and they can put him on the practice squad, because that's a guy I think that they may be able to develop. The other part of that, Joey, is he isn't the biggest guy. He's 6'2", 245, but he is long. He has 35-inch arms. And I know what you're thinking, and listen, I'm the same way. The guy was invited to the combine and wasn't drafted. But I think there's the polish and experience and the reps at that position. And going from, I don't care where you are, from college to pros is a major leap.
Yes. And this is the best thing about Anini also, is the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It might not be many other teams that know about him. So because of that, the Titans have the ability to hold on to him. And the fact that he is unpolished, right, that lends itself to say, all right, who's willing to spend time with him? Like, who's actually willing to do that as far as teams making these decisions? Yeah, some team can come claim him and stash him, but are you really going to develop him? I feel like, the Titans' approach to it will be, if you're here, you're our guy, and we're going to take care of you. At some point, I feel like that kid could get activated at some point if they sign him back to the practice squad. So, and there were just probably other positions of need as far as the breakdown of this roster that didn't allow you. Didn't allow you to stash a developmental guy that's undrafted on the roster.
Well, to your point, currently you have 5 running backs.
Yeah.
Currently they have 3 tight ends. I feel like there's a 4th tight end coming.
You think there's
I
one
do.
more?
Yep.
Okay.
Just because of what they do. Again, I'm not even a novice in this. I've never coached. I've never evaluated talent, but I'm just saying the numbers are kind of uneven in a couple of places, and I think there's going to be an evening out over the weekend, in my opinion.
So we talked about this last week with you, with Mike Keith, with Coach Dave McGinnis, that there are always surprises in this process based on the salary cap details that we're not privy to specifically. The guaranteed contracts, the vested veteran status of some of these guys that provides some surprises in week 1. And oftentimes week 2 ends up being a little bit more finality of what you're going to see over the course of the entire season. Was the Julius Chestnut move the biggest surprise to you? If not, what was among these first initial moves on the 53?
If it wasn't him, it was Trey Avery from Rutgers.
Me too.
Yeah.
Now that's both of those
Did we miss that?
I feel like I did.
I own up to that one.
Yeah.
I missed it.
I did. I felt like
most people that made predictions were missing that one.
And listen, for Lonnie Johnson Jr., he hung on to the roster.
Yep.
And they currently have 5 safeties.
Yeah.
And Lonnie, that's a guy that's played, and he's played safety, he's played corner.
Yeah.
And he's a long dude, stuff you're looking for. Had an interception first day of practice. He didn't even realize they were practicing against Tampa the first day he came in because he'd just come in, He's like, all right, well, let's go out here. And he had a pick.
See ball, get ball.
Right. But, yeah, Trey Avery, and I saw some things from him in places, but,
right.
I don't know. There's so much you're trying to watch. I think that stuff can fall through the cracks for somebody like me. Now, Coach Dave McGinnis, he probably like, yep, had him.
Yeah, right.
And he may very well have, because he's a lot smarter than I am with that.
How does the value of Chestnut and Haskins and special teams kind of protect their status on the roster? Because I know specifically you guys at Titans Radio have talked about Hassan Haskins. He made a couple tackles and kick coverage and punt team and things of that nature. I think mainly kick coverage. Over the course of the preseason. Does that help their status? I know Haskins, obviously the draft pick, you've got more of a priority to keep him. But what about Chestnut helping out in special teams, especially if reports are true and Racey McMath is banged up to start the season?
I mean, I think that's certainly a factor in this, but you currently have 4 wide receivers. Yeah. So, again, it's an uneven game in a couple of spots positionally. So that's why I feel like, first of all, Hassan Haskins ain't going nowhere.
Sure.
Right. He's the backup running back in this thing for number 22, and not just by committee, in my opinion. Now, Dontrell Hilliard is a person that found his place here, and you bring up special teams. He's a guy, first of all, he's did a lot of nice stuff out of the backfield as an option, which Hassan Haskins can also do. But I believe Dontrell Hilliard has won the job also as Ryan Stonehouse's personal protector on teams. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
I mean, Byard was it for 3 years for Kern before he was taken out of that to be more of just the safety back there on the defense, becoming an all-pro guy. But, certainly special teams weighs into this heavily. And, Hassan Haskins, he played it all through high school and college. Mm-hmm. So he's no stranger to it. But those are certainly added value things. Look, we say it all the time, the more you can do.
Yes, sir. The longer you stay around. Another position, Rhett, to me, the 7D linemen, not outside linebackers, not, D ends, but Jeff, Danico, Tierra, Naquan. I thought DeMarcus Walker. Yeah, that's our 5. That's what I had down. Will, I think we might have been off one on.
I think
either way.
I had one more in Murchison there.
Yeah, you had Laurel. As far as Kevin Strong and Deshaun Hand, making this. How many have they carried recently under John Robinson, and what does the 7 kind of say to you, Rhett?
Well, I would have to go back and look at what they've done historically.
Yeah,
because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay,
but your 5, I would certainly agree with that 5, because DeMarcus Walker was brought in here to be a contributor and to bolster that group that's already rich in talent. Because he is a guy that is good in both pass and run situations, where Naquan and Tier are, one's good in one and one's good in the other, and he's kind of a dual threat in that part of it. So there may be still something going on with that group. I mean, we'll see, because that's a lot of numbers right there.
It is.
But, I mean, again, I still think, remember, they've just gotten down to 53. I initially thought they might even get down to 50 yesterday. Because I still feel there's moves to be made. You mentioned it. There's the waiver wire this weekend, and then after week 1, where you can pick up a veteran guy on a week-to-week proposition and not be on the hook for his salary for the whole year.
Right. Do you feel like the extra defensive linemen, and looking back at the initial roster in 2021, Titans kept 5 in 2021 on the defensive line. At that point, it was Simmons, Autry, Tier Tart, Laurel Murchison, and Anthony Rush. Was that 5th guy a year ago?
About that, yeah.
How much to you is that insurance for Danico Autry being a little banged up through camp?
Well, that is a great observation by you, because I think that's probably what some of this is. Okay. Because we saw Danico early on, and then we have not seen him very much at all in the last 2-3 weeks of camp. So he's clearly working through something. And, he's not a spring pup either. I mean, he's, 32 years old, I think. So, I think you're right on that. I think there is an insurance policy there for Danico, who had a great year last year, and certainly hope he gets healthy and straight so he can contribute more. I think you're right.
Other miss that we had on our roster yesterday, a guy we both had on the team who didn't end up making it, was Joe Jones. At the middle linebacker position.
Dog.
Special teams ace, a guy that made a couple plays in preseason, obviously has the interception against Tampa Bay. Chance Campbell making it. I think we expected that.
Yep.
Dylan Cole, we've talked about his versatility.
Those 2 dudes, man.
I thought the competition was good at that spot, just considering how many opportunities those inside linebackers got. I mean, Jack Gibbons impressed at times too.
And I think I heard you earlier. I think Jack Gibbons definitely is a guy they'd like to get back on this practice squad to keep developing.
You get a nickname like Dr. Gibby from the coach that early upon being in the locker room, and you feel like you've probably made a pretty good impression.
You mean something.
The thing that got Chance Campbell more on my radar was after the Baltimore preseason game, when Bobby King, the inside linebacker coach, who was Zach Cunningham's coach in Houston, had some nice things to say about him. He said, listen, that kid got a lot of stuff thrown at him in Baltimore. He put the green dot on his helmet, and, that communicator as the quarterback of the defense for the first time, thought he handled it well. Certainly plenty to work on, but, I'm encouraged by these guys getting more snaps and reps. And, hell, the last preseason game, they only had 3 inside linebackers up, and Joe Jones was one of them, and Chance Campbell and Gibby were the others. So, he got a lot of reps in the preseason, and it isn't a huge surprise that he makes the initial 53-man roster.
No doubt about it. I'm looking at a list of guys that got cut or available. I don't see the Titans investing much stock in these type of dudes. Odell, probably not. Still injured. Tackle guard Darrell Williams, man, from Buffalo, is still out there right now. Anthony Harris, safety from Philly. Eric Fisher. Titans, if they're going for somebody, it's going to be a developmental guy that kind of helps this roster out in this year, or somebody that can say, you're just going to be depth. They're not looking for starters out of this group, Rhett, a dude that's going to be strong, rotational guys like Will Fuller. Still out there. Got to get through the suspension, if I'm not mistaken. But I couldn't see a situation where that happens either, Rhett B.
No, I think you're looking for veteran depth if you're looking for anything.
Yes.
Which is what, when they got so many injuries dinged up in the secondary, especially in the safety positions, he made 2 trades. Now, Tyree Gillespie did not make the roster, but that 7th-round conditional pick he gets back because he didn't make the roster. But, yeah, he was out there scouring the waiver wire or teams for those possibilities. And, again, he'll continue to do those things. I mean, Trader John is Trader John for a reason.
That's good, man. But one thing that's for certain, man, the participation of the young guys this year. I don't even know if the 2019 group was this heady, this advanced as far as how they contributed to this team. Chig, we know it's going to play.
Mm-hmm.
McCurry is going to play.
Absolutely.
NPF is going to play. Chance Campbell will play a role on this team.
Yep.
And we're talking about Kyle Phillips. We got 5.
You haven't even said the first round picks.
And I hadn't even said Traylon yet.
No.
Rhett B.
And Kyle Phillips is definitely going to contribute.
You even got Bayer saying this is his favorite weapon to go to.
Yeah.
So we're speaking
and
of
Ryan
that,
Stonehouse is your punter.
Well,
I mean,
have you seen this early of an impact for a rookie class?
Yeah, that's what I'm
recently.
asking.
No.
Because even A.J. Brown at this point had, 1 catch in preseason going into his rookie year in 19?
Yeah, right. And he missed some time. And, his coming out party was in Atlanta in week 4, his rookie year.
Right.
In the first time they played in Mercedes-Benz. And he had a 2-touchdown game that day. And, that's why I'm not worried about Traylon Burks. He's going to have a moment. He's going to step forward. I mean, he did a little of it the other night by getting dinged up and going back in, getting taped up, and coming back out and wanting to play and play.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was getting at this. This group could be that group you need to carry that Titan weight moving forward. And especially if Malik does get to that point, Red. And we talked about it for sure. And as I told you too, I see why. Okay, if given time and patience and more opportunities, why there's an excitement for Malik Willis.
I believe that there is, and we throw the potential word around, but I think there's a potential. There's a potential for the league and other 31 other teams to go, man, that guy slipped to the 3rd round.
But it had to be the right situation, though. Fowler said that.
Sure.
You got Tannehill for this year and potentially next, too.
You saw what I tweeted out the other day. I'm like, Malik, he's the first out there every Ryan Stonehouse, one of the first ones out there every day. But Malik will go out. He'll go through his stretches. With the picture I sent, it looks like he's spreading eagle on a wall, doing a snow angel or something. But that's part of his stretches, and he goes and works those bands, and then he starts looking at his armband and going through his reads and progressions.
Yeah.
Every day, every single day.
The term first in, last out is cliche. It's applied to Malik Willis in what we've seen.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it, Rat. We're, a little bit more than a week away?
8 days from NFL kicking off next week.
But the Vols
are tomorrow, baby. Yeah, we got good energy today because it is a Tennessee game day eve.
You got
Rhett
something
Bryan,
in the cache back there of weapons,
he
too.
Does. He
for
does.
Vol football.
Jonathan Schaefer's over here whispering.
Oh, I do. We were going to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I don't mean now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. There's something back.
Just tell him you're going to do his job for him, Red.
No. He's giving me a reminder.
I'm just giving you a reminder that there's a minefield tomorrow that's going to be fun.
We have some goodies.
Interesting.
Hey, now.
Fun with audio.
I've been in the lab. I've been in the laboratory.
Have you really?
Yeah, I gave it a little gift to you boys.
What a guy.
I'm excited now.
How you do?
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah, 3HO. You're not the only one that gets gifts.
Hey. All right, bet. All right, bet. Rhett Bryan has been our guest, Titans Radio here this morning. Always good stuff, Rhett.
It is.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I'm so glad. We always need him. Inky Johnson.
Hey, now.
That's right.
Him.
Coming up next, midweek motivation. Skip the extra cup of coffee. We'll get you a little bit of motivation on your way out. Coming up next, it's Ramona Will, powered by All Four Seasons, 104.5 The Zone. One final segment today on the Wednesday edition. Middle of your week, Buck Rising Show coming up next, where the Titans 53-man roster conversation continues. Will Boldinger, Mo Foster with you. Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world.
Yeah, he is.
One final segment. Good stuff with Rhett Bryan talking about Dez Fitzpatrick and talking about the wide receiver position. Is it fair to assume, Ramon Foster, that Dez Fitzpatrick has the best chance of being the addition back to the roster if Racey McMath ends up going on IR?
He could, specifically for development purposes. But if Racey McMath goes to IR, that puts us as 4 wide receivers, does it not?
Well, if you added in Dez, then it would be back to 5.
Dez puts you back in. I would hope, man, Dez take this serious, this go round.
Right.
Like, whatever you got to fix, bro, do it. Like, take the time.
Sure.
Whatever you did before wasn't enough. Do more. Like, if the catching is an issue, make that a non-issue.
Right.
Like, it's been him-inflicted stuff. You know, it's like self-inflicted stuff that he's had go on. Like Rhett said, you had Racey come in and just take off on him. And for no other reason other than the fact that you didn't accept the challenge. Like, he did some good things, but it's a matter of you only get so many opportunities.
Right.
And because of that, man, he'll have another. But it's a matter of what he's going to do with it, though, too, Will. Like, that's, to me, is I have zero sympathy for that. You know it. So I'm here for putting the best out there. When your best ain't good enough, you go find something else. That's this business. John Robinson has proven to be that type of GM, too.
Right. Going to be interesting to see what happens there. Other headlines we did not get to at the end of the show today. Raiders sending another draft pick away from Las Vegas. 2019 second-round pick Trayvon Mullen to the Arizona Cardinals. That was before Mike Mayock was – or no, that was Mike Mayock's first draft class was 2019. It can always be worse.
Always be worse.
The draft picks that you have.
Running back gone,
Can always be
lineman
Vegas.
gone. But, of course, everybody says that was Gruden, who, by the way, is on his media wash right now, trying to get cleaned again.
Groomers.
Just leave
have no need
at
for
this
him.
point, man.
Thank you, Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you, Shave. It's been a while.
We're more jaded in this state about John Gruden than probably anyone else is.
Don't want to hear it. When you start off your apology speech by not apologizing and saying, I'm a good Christian, I go to church.
I state
That's
my
when
regret.
you lose me.
This freaking clown.
Yeah, that was a clown apology right there.
I state my regret.
Yeah.
Dwight, did you not you not memorize that? I did not memorize it because I did not feel it.
I declare bankruptcy.
That's
That's basically what Gruden did on stage last night.
Talking about Kellen Mond, we mentioned him with Jeremy Fowler as well. And if you missed that conversation, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts immediately following the show today. Kellen Mond, third-round pick in 2021 by the Minnesota Vikings, cut yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Minnesota Vikings 2021 draft class. Christian Darrisaw is your starting left tackle. Okay. That one's I guess worked out. Your next 3 picks in 2021 are no longer on the team.
Dang.
You cut your 3 of your 4 third-round picks. Patrick Jones, who is the edge rusher opposite of Rashad Weaver at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Backup outside linebacker for them.
Is that the kid that got shot? No. He was with Washington.
Yeah, that was Brian Robinson.
Okay. No, it was another kid last year that got shot.
Oh, yes.
You remember the D tackle?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
And then you have 3 more players who were all cut by the Minnesota Vikings. So Minnesota, in their 2021 draft class, cuts 6 guys that were drafted a year ago. That's not great. Janarius Robinson, cut me off guard. Zach Davidson and Jalen Twyman, the other guys. So, look, I know it's not ideal having to cut a 4th-round pick wide receiver that you traded up for a couple of years ago, but these things happen.
Yeah.
And I think especially during the COVID pandemic, these things happen probably more often than people would have liked for them to happen within front offices.
That Minnesota GM said, walk in your trap, take over your trap.
That's right.
And your draft picks. I
That's
don't
right.
like none of y'all.
Ramon Foster tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Football Volunteers
It's
play
go time.
American tackle football. Is all that I have to say.
In America. Hopefully we don't pull a Nebraska
That's right.
on domestic land.
Lots of Vols conversation tomorrow. Tennessee and Ball State. Of course, you can hear that one tomorrow night right here on the Zone, courtesy of Vol Network. Looking forward to our first game day broadcast of 2022.
Can't wait.
I can't wait. Going to be good. We close today's show, as we do every single Wednesday. It is Vol for Life himself, Inky Johnson, getting you through your Wednesday. Lock into this and lock in for some Tennessee Vols game day conversation tomorrow. Back at it 6 a.m. Here's Inky Johnson to send us away.
Competitive spirit, right? Competitive stamina. How long can you compete, and how long are you willing to compete? Anybody can show up and compete when they know they're going to get a certain result, but can you compete in the face of opposition? Can you compete when you don't get what you want? Can you compete when they don't tell you what you want to hear? Can you compete when it doesn't play in your favor? Competitive stamina, competitive spirit. How long can you compete, and how long are you willing to compete? Write this down, transcending why. It's a lot to be said about why, right? Why do you do what you do? But does your why transcend situation, circumstance, people, and opposition? Write this down, mental agility. It's not the strongest of species that survives. It's not even the most intelligent or talented. It's the one that's most willing to adapt to change. Mental agility, showing up every single day with a sound mind and sound